G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle. Here as always, my lovely co-host, Kat.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kat Keddington. Today in the news, Donald Trump kills Assad. Not really. I think he just damaged one of his planes, but I'm sure that will buff right out.
Yeah, whatever.
We could be, facing total annihilation, but, let's talk about fucking war dollies, shall we?
Yes, let's. I prefer escapism over realism today. So, Kat, what have you been up to in the hobby lately?
Well, I think I'm about 80 hours down into a 101-hour work week. So, not much hobby. I did ride an army list yesterday while I was at work on some downtime. I posted it, I don't know if you saw it, but it's for Tim's Centurion system, which limits some, for those of you who don't know what Tim's Centurion system is, it's 1,500, 2,000 points of 30k. It limits overpowered units. It's designed for a 6x6 table with 50% terrain, lots of terrain. Usually it's 25% terrain. Games Workshop recommends, so this is 50%. And lots of troops and bikes and Leviathans, attack bike squadrons, land speeders. They're all limited to 0 to 1, and a lot of other things are restricted. No monstrous creatures, no flyers, no tanks at all, so no rhinos. You won't have any transports, so it's very squad based. He wants lots of dreadnought, lots of walkers, lots of troops. So my Dark Angel list is I've got that freaking Prospero box set, so I thought I'd do something with them. So Dark Angels is like veterans with poison bolters, heavy support squad with poison bolters, some attack bikes with poison bolters, and some javelins with poison bolters. Just trying to cram in as many poison bolters as, of course, in there. Also, the HQ is on a jet bike with command squad with poison bolters. So yeah, that's about the army. So I'm just sorting that out now. And to do the attack bikes, I'm looking online for a third-party buggy. It doesn't seem to be one for Marines, really. I did find one before for Unification Wars, but yeah. So I might go the buggy route, or I might just buy the Outrider bike and put the undercarriage from the 40k bike set. So that means I need 5 ride-outer bikes, which are expensive even for China, and then 5 undercarriage buggies. So it's still expensive. So I'm gonna look at the buggies before I get the sidecar thing, and the sidecars look pretty ridiculous.
I've only built one of my Outriders at the moment, because I bought half a dozen recently, 2 of the 3-packs, and I've built one. They're a pain in the ass. An absolute pain in the ass.
I thought it'd just be the same. I thought it'd be easier than the
No.
Or is it just armor plating over the normal bike?
Well, you've got the normal bike, right? So you've got to put the 2 halves of the bike together. Then you've got to put the 2 halves of the back wheel together. Then it's got a different front wheel, right? And the front wheel is like this weird shape. It's got like 2 hubs, and it's like an oval shape, not a round shape. So then you put that together. Then you've got to sort of play around to get the fit right, because the armor plate that goes over the nose of it and over the arse of it has to sit in a very specific point. And then, so once you glue all that down, because it's got to like slot into the existing plastic parts, and it's resin, which means that, there's hollow points that have to mate, male and female. They can have a little bit of miscasting around them, so you've got to sort of dig out the male and female, or dig out the female section to sort it onto the males, and then you've got to sort out the weapons themselves that mount on. And I decided personally, I think it'd be silly to magnetise them, because there's so little meat for the magnets to bind into. You'd probably just end up damaging it more than anything. So
alright, so I'm sold on the third-party buggy.
I think the bikes look great. They're just a fucking right cunt to build.
Well, yeah, that's me done. I've got a bunch of sprues sitting next to me, so I'm trying to, I don't know, I think I'll just go generic Dark Angels, and no weird heads, no dresses or anything, just paint them black, lots of red and white checkers on the black, Yeah, with lots of little sword symbols everywhere. So yeah, what have you been up to?
Well, as you know, I was having a good laugh because I come home from work one night, been a bit flat out to say the least with work, but there's a package my missus picked up from the post office, and I'm like, oh, what's this package? She's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I don't remember ordering anything. So I opened it up, and I'm like, oh, it's models. Oh, awesome, I love models. What kind of models? Look at the receipt. Oh, it's 2 Primarchs. One night when I was really tired, because often I'll be in bed at night, and that's when I do a lot of my model brainstorming. Because I'll be, looking through the website or reading a novel before I go to bed. And you'll be reading a novel, and you think, oh, I'd love to buy this and do this. And well, one night when I was really tired, I must have just hit purchase, because I put together a little cart of things I'd like to buy. And then I look back through the cart and I weigh everything up. Do I really want it? Do I not want it? Do I think I can pull this project off? Is there a better way? Apparently I just decided to click buy this night, so Lehman Russ and Mortarion rocked up in my fucking mail and I had no idea about it. So that was unexpected and welcome. I have really enjoyed painting them both. Lehman Russ, though, was probably the most frustrating Primarch I've put together so far. Believe it or not.
Yeah, you showed me his face was like 3 fucking pieces or something.
Yeah, his head was 3 pieces, with just the hair. Thanks to the hair, it was 3 pieces. Arms and legs were easy enough, but then the way that the cloak attaches to his backpack, and the way the back that he's got, there's like a wolf pelt on it that he wears as a belt, and that's like 3 or 4 pieces on its own. And it's like not even the size of his leg. And it's 4 pieces of fur that you've got to figure out how exactly they jigsaw together. And of course,
you ragging on his belt
and
again.
Of course, the point where ragging on his cord, the point where the actual belt joins together, the mating points, is always where they put the fucking paw point on the mold. So if you're a bit too excessive with your cutting, or you're not good enough with your cleaning up of it, it won't fit. So that was a problem, and very frustrating, especially because I don't know if people know this, but Primarchs don't come with instructions. Primarchs don't come with instruction manuals. You just got to figure it out on your own. And Ferrous Manus was probably the hardest before this, and I ended up making up a series of diagrams of what part goes where, because it was fucking stupid. Trying to figure out where all these little cables and little turges and things like that all clip in. So, yeah, but apart from that, it's been fantastic. Lehman Russ has been a pleasure to paint, funny enough, which I
You hate the fairies, mate. You hate the fairies.
I do. The
weeaboo fairies, mate.
That's why I was surprised that I've enjoyed it so much. I freely admit that. I don't like Spaceballs, but I liked making this model. Painting it.
Yeah, throw it on the ground.
Yeah, I threw it on the ground. But
through the rest of the wolves, too. You should.
For the record, I've made... the Primarchs I've made for the viewers, I've done Horus, Orgar, Perturabo, Angron, Mortarion, Russ, Vulcan, Ferrous. So I've done at least 8 of them. I think the only ones I haven't done so far are Corax, Conrad, and Fulgrim. And I've done all the rest.
Have done none, and I refuse to, because they're too goddamn generic.
You had an Angron once.
No, I still have him. He's still new in box, in shrink wrap. So there was a lot of problems with those as well.
Wasn't he one of the first Angrons made, actually, wasn't he?
Yeah, I got him with the book as soon as the book came out.
Yeah, you did the same thing I did. Bought a book one and an Angron.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of problems with those Angrons as well. Bits missing and stuff, classic Forge World, but so who knows what's in there? The box of mystery.
It's interesting to look back on the Angron model. I'm going to pull it up actually while we're talking about it in the Forge World page.
Yeah, it's pretty.
His Primarch model is so different to other Primarchs, and his rules are so bad compared to.
He can 1v1 a knight, unlike other Primarchs.
Well, I think what lets him down is his armor is craptacular compared to someone like Lehman Russ. Angron beats Lehman Russ in the Night of the Wolf, there ain't no way it's going to happen on the tabletop. Lehman Russ would fucking slaughter Angron. But yeah, because unlike later Primarchs, his base is really toned down. His display base. Like, you can put his display base on a board and it wouldn't get in the way too much. But if you put, like, Perturabo or Horus's display base on the board, it's too big. Or like, do you find that as well, Kat, or...?
I understand why Four as well started going the way they did with their large bases, because, like, you see statues in, like, town and stuff, and they've got, like, some big base and shit. So, because it can hold the weight. So, I'm guessing that's why they did it for the Primarchs as well. It's just more stable and stuff like that. Like, even sometimes with 32mm bases for the normal Marines, if you're putting, like, metal Marines on that shit, that's still unstable as fuck. It needs to be big in base 4.
But the 60mm base is perfectly fine, but the size of some of those resin bases, like, literally the whole upper half of a knight is on Perturabo's base. Like, it's a little excessive.
Yeah, it could be a whole knight. Imagine if you just paid for a whole knight and contains one Perturabo.
Yeah, one bonus Perturabo. The other thing to note is Angron's base is a single piece. The Marines on it obviously are separate, and a couple of the pieces that glue to it, like a few of the rocks. But overall, it's one piece. You have to sort of slide Angron in a particular way into the top of the base for him to fit. Whereas on all the Primarchs released since him, the bases are like 3-4 parts that all clip together. I think Perturabo's is like 7 parts that are all like magnetized and have slots and attached together like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, I think that shows the success of the Horus Heresy, so they could become more.
Oh yeah, I think it's a good thing.
more invested in the sculpting of the miniatures, and that they could be more excessive and portray their characters as like gods rather than the little bitch Angron is. But he should be getting a Demon Prince one anyway. So.
Yeah. Well, how do you think they're going to do his Demon Prince? Because did I show you the Mortarion I got sent? The close-ups of Mortarion?
The Demon Prince one?
Yeah.
No, you fucking looked over that. I did not receive them.
Okay, I'll forward them to you later.
Wait, unless you did. I thought it was a third-party one.
No, I sent
No, you did. That was ages ago. Far out. That was a long time ago. Yeah, I thought that was a third party. I was just like, eh.
Yeah, I don't mind the 40k Mortarion. They've done an alright job with him. They basically gave him the fly wings. Like, yeah. I thought he'd have feathered wings.
Same.
Because like, people immediately think, oh, feathered wings is Zench. But no, Mortarion's feathered wings was like a dead bird. You know, like fucking roadkill. You know, there's like chunks missing and there's like crap in them. he had these real dirty wings. You know, like straight out of KFC dirty wings. Not the
Wicked
majestic peacock plumage of Magnus. So yeah, that was the whole deal with Mortarion, but now he's got fly wings. Like what are those things called? I don't know what they're called. The Nurgle dudes that ride the blowflies.
Oh, I have no idea. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The fantasy ones that came out.
Yeah.
They were like, there's like there's like, how many of them are there? They're like special characters actually. There's like books about them and shit. I don't know. I don't do Age of Sigmar, man. You're asking the wrong cat.
Apparently, those flies are when a Chaos Spawn. A beast of Nurgle feels too unloved. He sheds his skin and becomes one of those flies, and apparently it's like a pissed off thing.
Are you joking?
I'm not joking.
Okay, that's
the fluff.
Okay. That's
There's all these ways of writing fluff. That's the way they chose. Whatever. That personally doesn't offend me. I find it strange.
No, it's pretty cool. I like it. At least it's fitting with Nurgle, being that he's about he's the loving guy and stuff like that. Loving God, allegedly. Yeah, so that sounds pretty cool. It sounds nice that they get like wings and stuff and can fly, and then they become all popular and pretty or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about popular. Yeah, anyway, so new releases this week. Kat, do you want to take us through the new releases for Games Workshop?
GW, right. So we've got a lot of Blood Bowl made to order things. They said they were going to release all teams. It doesn't look like that's a thing.
Well, I mentioned in a video earlier this week, this is what was coming out this week, and people were like, where's the sources? Where's the sources?
It's been all over the Blood Bowl.
Yeah, it's been all over
pages.
Facebook. I put a picture up of it on our Facebook, and we knew it was coming. So don't doubt us, guys. We're not going to lie to you. We're not Games Workshop.
We don't have a reason to. We're not.
Yeah, we don't get money.
Guys.
Someone's accused us of clickbait articles the other day on our videos.
The fuck for? We don't get any ad revenue from anything.
No, it makes no sense, and nothing has ads. So, if you are someone who is profiting off the Outer Circle's work, do let us know so we can forward any clickbait article comments onto you, and you can answer them for us. So
yeah, that's weird. There's no Chaos team, but there is a.
Well, there's a Chaos
team.
Dwarf. But
that is the Chaos team. I thought it was the Mutant team.
No. So
holy crap!
They've really cut down on the teams available. All right, so the only team that is really usable here is actually the Dark Elves, because as awesome as Chaos,
from the book,
as awesome as Chaos Dwarves are, and I do have a bunch of old school Chaos Dwarves. I'll dig up. I actually know exactly where they are. The old plastic ones with the funny looking axe from Fantasy, when they were all like monoposed. It's like the only plastic Chaos Dwarves they ever did. But anyway, Chaos Dwarf team has no rules in like the Death Zone Season 1 and that, like the current Blood Bowl campaign. Yeah, the only rules you can get are like the online ones.
Yeah, and that's fine.
And neither does Chaos. In fact, Chaos Blood Bowl teams, at the moment the one is Nurgle's Rotters. So
yeah, that's all fucking...
Which needs like a bunch of zombies for it.
Yeah, that's all official crap. But people were playing fucking Blood Bowl, with Chaos Dwarves, Chaos teams for a long time now, for over 10 fucking years. So
no, it was a dead hobby.
Still strong.
It was a dead hobby, Cat. It was a dead hobby. Remember what those Lord of the Rings players said when I did the broke the fans? Because the fans still played the game, it was thus not dead and supported by Games Workshop. It's flawless logic. Yeah, so, look, if you want to collect them, I think it's great. I think it's great they've released these. The Dark Elf team is perfectly usable. I do suggest, however, bring your own assassin, because the assassin model is craptacular for Blood Bowl. There's much nicer.
A dude?
The assassin? Yes.
It looks like a dude. He's showing a little leg for a dude, man.
Well, don't judge him, man. Like, who are
I'm
you
not judging him. I'm just saying that the sky is blue today. He's showing a lot of leg.
You fucking cisgendered scum. Who are you to judge this Dark Elf assassin? Okay?
Oh my god.
Just because he self-identifies as a pink sequined glove wearing assassin who likes to show a bit of thigh and prefers if you refer to him as Shim as his gender. That's a thing, right? Sounds like it's a thing. Someone somewhere is offended right now. Alright, so I owe you an apology, Kat.
What?
The terrain. I said it would probably come out as one set.
It came out with more sets than I thought it would.
I think you guessed 3 or 4, and it's 3 sets. So
I thought it was fucking yes, eat that, everybody! They're ripping you off. Let's go over the prices, shall we?
Please do.
So we've got the Sector Mechanicus alcohol. What the hell? Alchemite stack. So the things that I said that looks like the Tatooine Star Wars thingy. That's like a pipe and
the
half
moisture
a circle.
evaporators.
Yeah. $84. The fuck? You fucking kidding me?
Games Workshop Australia, so fucking crazy.
The blah 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 thing. The fucking orange silo.
Oh, ferrotonic furnace.
What's a furnace? What? It looks like a fucking silo to me. Is that a fucking furnace? It's a weird ass looking furnace.
What kind of furnace doesn't have a hole in the top of it?
What?
And has a big door in the side. Is this? I don't want to make an Auschwitz joke here.
Could you imagine?
But
like, they don't do their research about weapons. All they had to do is Google a fucking furnace and realize it needs fucking ventilate. Anyway,
it's a furnace with a big door for people to go in on one side, and that's it. So you're telling me that this is a furnace for people. I'm sorry if the conclusion I have come to offends people, but it's a furnace.
It's a large
people.
silo, possibly filled with
It's a
unmentionable
furnace.
chemicals. It's a large silo, possibly unmentionable for toxic waste or items.
That's code for don't look for the bodies inside.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. It says or items too sinister to dwell upon. Soylent Green confirmed, and then you have the Sector Mechanicus oil refinery thingy.
Galvanic Magnavent.
The fuck is?
I don't know, but actually, there's one thing I do know, that Dr. Robotnik, this is clearly I think this is from the chemical plant level, Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
I think they should have called this Floating Aqua World.
This is definitely the chemical plant level from Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's even got a Dr. Robotnik crane.
Look, I don't like that crane, you know. I posted a picture up of it saying, you know.
I don't hate it. I don't hate this terrain.
Crane. You don't hate that crane. Are you kidding me?
I don't hate it.
It's the derpiest fucking thing in the world. It looks like it's from fucking Fisher and Price, mate.
It's not the derpiest thing in the world. Gilliman exists.
Okay, well, I said everyone's saying that this was fucking Necromunda. Eat shit, because yeah.
Necromunda is all right. When you think Necromunda terrain, what do you think of?
Yeah, plain undercity fucking just what do you call it, like railings and stuff. You know, there's CNC workshops make a whole bunch of it. It's just very bland and very compact together. Isn't.
When I think of Necromunda terrain, I think of like 2000 AD, like the Judge Dredd comics.
Yeah, definitely.
Stuff like Blade Runner. You know, like the world of Blade Runner, like just dilapidated factories and neon signs and shit like that, and just the world of the Crow, the Brandon Lee Crow, you know, just interesting, that kind of stylistic gothic architecture. Because that gothic look is what's around like 40k, right? 40k is all about gothic architecture.
Okay, but I did have a comment with somebody. They said that the grim dark part of 40k and fantasy, it's always been a joke. Since it was created, it was always a joke, and it's all supposed to be about the you know, it's about bright colours, and you know,
it was a joke and satirical when they first made 40k, but people who first made 40k are gone. Like, by the time 3rd edition came around, like 3rd edition was the most dark edition, because in third edition there was no light at the end of the tunnel. Like, you know, ever since 4th edition they've been writing things in about, you know, Gilliman's wound healing and all that, whereas in 3rd edition everything was like, you know, the end is about to come. Like, it's all turning to shit. Chaos was ascendant in the books as well as in the rules. And it was super fucking grimdustrial. And 2nd and 3rd edition is where all this shit took off and was most popular.
Well, apparently a lot of people, I don't know why, especially on Spiky Bits, think that the grimdustrial look is just supposed to be taking the piss. So Necromandageddon, Battle for Derpness in the hilariously ridiculous Undercity. Because apparently that's what they actually do. They're just taking the piss the entire time. Though, if you wanted to make a floating aqua world from, if you reference Waterworld, you know the movie Waterworld with Kevin Costner?
Yes, I do.
Yes, well, that'd work really well, obviously, if you wanted to make that compound where Kevin Costner was. You could recreate it. Gilliman's the Kevin Costner. Fucking Water Planet. He hits.
Gilliman has gills.
Fucking oh my god! You heard it here first, people.
You can use those new dwarves coming out for Age of Sigmar with their blimp. as like that fucking blimp dude that rescues Kevin Costner. You know, like that crazy old dude with the fucking accent. Oh no, the balloon is taking off. That guy, yeah.
Yep, there was a balloon. Holy crap, it's all falling into place, man.
So, hang on. So these, what's this? Mechanica, Galvanic, Magnavent, the Furnace, and the Alchemite stack combined, what's that? $168, $285.
What the world's $125
It's $285 for the 3 pieces of terrain combined, right?
So
if I go to boxed games, how much is the game itself?
You can still buy the game now. They've added more, I think, for $220.
$220, right? Yeah, I'm just trying to find it. Yeah, so $220. So you can just buy the whole fucking game with all of that terrain in it, right? Or most of that terrain in it, plus all the models, and it'll be cheaper by a third.
Yep.
Oh, speaking of which, Shadow War Armageddon is 220 Australian dollars. Let me just put this into the old converter. So that's 133 British pounds. Cat, I believe we dug up a image from one of the companies in UK. 64 pounds they can get it for. You can buy it for third party in the UK. What's 64 pounds in Australian dollars? 105, so less than half the cost. Just fucking wow.
Yeah, man, it's cut with salt and lemon rubbed right into it.
I mean, I'm not telling people that, like, we should raid Games Workshop with torches and pitchforks, but, you know, they're evil enough.
Maybe if we send a nice tweet to Trump, he'll send some fucking Tomahawk missiles their way.
Ooh, yeah.
Each ship, I believe, has about 70 Tomahawk missiles, and and 2 shot 59. So they should have at least a good 20. I don't know, only a couple would be fine.
I think we need to quickly let people understand how prices got to where they are in Australia, because there's a lot of misinformation that basically boils down to apologists for Games Workshop saying, oh no, it's import taxes. It's not import taxes. Back about 15 years ago, you reckon? Australian dollar was just terrible place. It was worth absolutely nothing. And Games Workshop decided that they would raise all their fucking prices. And then all of a sudden the Australian dollar recovered from what was frankly a ridiculous low to what's been consistent against the pound almost ever since. And Games Workshop just never lowered the prices ever again. So they've always kept that same distance just in case our dollar ever dropped mysteriously. Because before that they used to keep in line with our inflation values. Now they don't. Now they just set a fucking value that's about 60% higher than anywhere else in the world, just because that's just become their standard operating procedure. It's got nothing to do with import tariffs. It's got nothing to do with government taxes. It's got nothing to do with the cost of importing things into the country or anything like that. It's entirely because Games Workshop thinks they can get away with it. And they are getting away with it. But unfortunately, as you'll see from most people who are playing this hobby in Australia, it has cost them. It has cost the company, because Games Workshops are very dead compared to what they were. We know a lot of people who run third-party retailers, don't we, Kat? And most of the stock they're selling is not Games Workshop anymore. And many of them started by mostly selling Games Workshop. They're mostly now selling things like Flames of War's super popular. Obviously, Magic the Gathering.
There's some bizarre shit that physical
board
stores
games,
are selling.
Things
There's
like
this fucking
Zombicide.
game called Tanks, and you like stick. It's not like Flames of War's little tanks. They're like halfway between Flames of War and 40k size tanks. I don't know what the fuck that is, 20 mil or something. And you like multiple plastic part kit. You put some tanks together, World War II setting, and you put your tanks together and you fight tanks. I guess it's like World of Tanks.
There used to be a computer game like that.
It's fucking weird, man. I don't know.
I
And
used
they're
to
just
have.
like
I'll find it
just
later.
a big seller in Australia. I just don't understand. I'm just like, wow, that doesn't interest me at all.
Yeah, I used to have a computer game like that. It was really cool. You could literally customize every tank that you could build. It was like Red Alert, but imagine if you could like take Red Alert and put like the turrets off an Apocalypse tank on like a Grizzly tank chassis and shit like that. Yeah, it's heaps fun. Anyway, so yeah, the prices are completely fucked. Third parties aren't selling a lot of Games Workshop stuff, and what they are is mostly Age of Sigmar. Funny enough, but they're not getting a huge turnover of it. So I don't know what that means in the long run for Games Workshop Australia, but they can't keep up these prices forever because so many people have already left. And I think I can safely say, between you and I, we probably know at least half the people we know in this game are only in it because they buy recasts. They literally can't afford decent wages too. They literally just can't afford to play the hobby.
Yeah, it's unrealistic price. But on that, so Games Workshop, one of the stores I know of, they just have a Games Workshop shelf, one small shelf. It's called so Games Workshop sells like these shelves, so bestsellers or new releases and stuff like that. So they have the paint rack, so all the paints, some brushes, some tools, and then they have a top sellers / new releases shelf. So there's like 4 shelves, maybe 2 foot wide, and they've got like a couple of the new sets, new box games. None of the Prosperos or anything like that. I don't know if they're going to get any Armageddons or anything, but they're a little bit better with how they run their accounts and stuff now, but you still have to be with them for ages before they give you any sort of an account. That's like getting stock before you have to pay for it. You're getting your 30 days to pay it off once you get it, rather than paying up front, which most small retailers can't do. But they expect to do that at the start. But that seems to have changed. On Privateer Press news, I don't know if you know that they had their press ganger thing. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So Privateer Press never had physical stores themselves like Games Workshop does. They always relied on third-party stores, and they had these things called press gangers. So these are just individuals that signed up to promote the game in their local area. Just normal people. Said there was no scanning or background checks of these people, so they could be freaking anywhere. But they've dropped that system at all. All press gangers now are not a thing. So the only way that these companies now going through just the reps, the state reps for I don't know, setting up games and stuff. I guess I don't even know if the reps care that much about it. That's what the press gangers were for, to set up games and just promote the hobby, really. But they've cut that program away, which
yes.
I guess I don't know why they did it. I guess they're solid, they're situated enough to cut that away. People know what they are. They had some at the time of release. They had against Games Workshop. Their paints were really, really good. I liked that. They had liquid pigments in their paints. It was thicker. Ran smoother. Some of the paints were top notch against GW at the time.
Games Workshop's paints have just been getting worse with time.
They have some good stuff now. Actually, GW. I'm still using the
when the paints are working, they're fantastic.
The oil shades work.
The separation
really well
in the paints is terrible, and the pigments in their shades do some really weird shit. Where every time I use them, I shake the fuck out of them to get an even distribution of pigment because.
You have to shake the shades. That's a definite. But I'm using the gloves.
I got to shake everything. Their metallics are the worst though. Their metallics are fantastic when they're fully mixed. The metallics work perfectly. Unfortunately, I have a metallic and I come in, I shake the fuck out of them every day, and they still don't fully mix. It's like the pigment they've put in it. It's just way too thick for the medium it's in, and the medium is separating out really efficiently separating. And it's really hard to combine them back together. Like sometimes I'll even drop a stainless steel ball bearing in there to help break it up. It's that bad. Or I'll have to get a toothpick and actually put a toothpick into the paint and physically stir it. It's like it gets rubbery down the bottom, and they're new paints.
I've added
from the manufacturer. So
some thinners and stuff I've added to mine, acrylic thinners and stuff, just to keep their longevity to them. But I use, for the GW stuff, I'm using some like older paints and stuff. Remember when they had this fucking, what's this one? This is the fucking base XV88. That was a good brown. I've got the Blood for the Blood God red that I was using for a thing. I'm using Agrax Earthshade gloss and Null Oil gloss. That's just a really good on a gloss. Like you undercoat your miniature with your airbrush, and then you put a gloss finish over it, and then you're using those gloss washes. It's so good. There's no pooling. It's really good. You don't have to. It doesn't stain. It's just really good compared to having to go through the point of an oil wash.
Yep.
So yeah,
it's interesting. I've still got old paints from when I was collecting in second ed and third ed. I actually have a blue ink, and it is fucking amazing. You forget how good those old inks were. For anyone who's over the age of 22, 23, something like that, you probably weren't in the hobby before they got rid of inks. But chestnut ink was probably the most used fucking thing. I think more chestnut ink was probably sold than black cans of spray paint. It was so fucking good.
Well, Vallejo have one. It's called brown.
It's not the same.
It is.
It doesn't have nostalgia attached to it, so it's not the same.
No.
Yeah. But no, seriously.
Move on, mate.
The old inks were fantastic because unlike a shade, they started really thick, really strong, and you diluted it as suited you. So you could really dilute the ink down so it was very thin or very thick, but it always was really consistent because it was an ink, not a pigment. As such, it wouldn't separate out once it was thinned down, so it wouldn't pool poorly like a lot of shades do. And yeah, it was just a pleasure to work with the old inks.
No, I think you just attached the nostalgia to it. It was just ink, mate. Are you going to get the Gene Steeler book?
No, I'm not going to get the.
I thought it was a box
Gene
set
Steeler.
when you pointed out to me.
Cube.
I swear to God, I thought it was a box set of just Gene Steelers. I thought it was just like 100 Gene Steelers in this box for $40. I was like, oh, cool. No, it's a hardback book. Pass. So I think that highlights.
Oh, you know what? You know what else? Good laugh. That Chaos Dwarf Blood Bowl Bull Centaur.
Yeah, that's an old ass mini.
That miniature, I think, is like a 25mm base with a tiny little bull body on him. The current Bull Centaurs from Forge World are on like fucking 50mm bases. They're fucking huge. They're fucking huge compared to this thing. Yes, definitely one for the nostalgia fans. I've always liked them.
It's just nostalgia.
No, I think maybe I want to buy the Dark Elf team, but I spent a lot of money today keeping the other half happy with things she wanted. Yeah, no, I'm going to take a pass on all of it, especially the fucking buildings. I will not buy those buildings on sheer principle. And anyone who does buy it, I can't say they're disappointing me or making me upset because I don't give that many shits. But I just got to question why. Like, you have purchasing power, don't do it to yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of third party out there that you could get a hell of a lot more terrain for your. For that amount of money, man. Oh, you know my Battlefield in a box, pre-painted terrain, pre-painted hard resin ceramic terrain.
Pre-built, pre-painted.
Pre-built, pre-painted, and it was cheaper than all of this.
Yes.
I've got more than a full table for the same.
Looks fantastic. We should really get pictures of some of the buildings off that and show people.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. But that's if you're at the lazy route. If you're happy to paint stuff, you've got the laser etched stuff. There's a hell of a lot of options. There's other plastic terrain out there, and if you do want to go down the straight, I'd recommend going through a relayer tailor to get that 20-30% off, even 15% off. It's
go get yourself a what do they call it? An overseas PO. Get yourself one of those overseas post office boxes and just buy the fucking box from that overseas company at half fucking price. Even if you could pay $100 for shipping. It wouldn't be. It'd be like $20. But if you paid $100 for shipping, you would still come out on top. Let that fucking sink in.
You just tip the dude a 50. Like, here you go. I still saved money.
it's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, so moving on from the Games Workshop, let's look at Forge World's new releases.
Oh shit! What up? Look at that transfer sheet.
Yeah, well, alright, let's start with that. House Melanix transfer sheet. I really like it. I like the scorpions.
I
and
love
stuff.
House Melanix. So they're a night house, right?
Yes.
If you go in down the bottom.
Obviously.
Well, it's not that bloody obvious because they've got so much Mechanicum crap attached to them. So if you go down to the bottom, there's a download icon guide, which I really like. Forge World is doing this. They had one ages ago where they took the piss and they're like some bull crap and blah 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 on their page, but this is legit. So you've got the Melanax house icons, which is number 6, all the little scorpions, right? So, but then you have like 7. What the hell is the
Zanite Tagmata.
Tagmata icons? The hell are they? Is that like their Mechanicum heads with their Mechanicum goat heads? That's metal as fuck, but what the hell is it?
Well, that's for that Tagmata. That's the Zanite tech press.
So were they bum buddies or what the hell, man?
Well, it's from Xana Forge World. There you go, number 1, the Xana Forge World icon. So Xana Forge World is one of the Forge Worlds in Book 6 of the Horus Heresy. And it's like a lot of the Black Shields campaign and that revolves around like the fighting that goes on there. So
Xana is the world. Zanite is the
yes.
specific.
Well, Zanite's just referring to, like an Earthling is to Earth, or Zanite is a Zanite to Xana.
But they have 2 different icons.
Well, one's the icon of the Forge World, the other one is like the heraldry of their Tagmata, which is like the Mechanicum households. So they're different organisations, different armed forces within the hierarchy of that world's military.
Right. And so how the hell did these Melanax dudes get with these Zanite dudes? And are they... Because these guys were like, they paraded as...
When a knight loves Tagmata very much...
Alright, so apparently these guys were like paraded around as Scorpion Jets, these Mennonites. Not Mennonites, Melanax. Mennonites. Rolled in bones. So they paraded around like good guys, and they were like, civilians were like, yeah, we're saved. And they were like, yeah, no worries. Now, if I can just have your skin to do some stuff with your skin, that'd be great. So they paraded around as good guys, but they're actually really bad guys, and they supported Horus and stuff. But why did they have this night house just attached to them? Did they live like next door? Were they like, yeah, let's go fucking get a whole bunch of skin. Let's go skin farming.
I don't know. I can't remember. I think I've read it in book 6. But book 6 didn't stick with me like the other books, because book 6 is not a very good Forge World book, and people hate it when I mention that. It wasn't. It was a
filler.
It was a competent book, but it was a filler book. It was. People were like, oh, it expanded on the campaign system. I don't give a fuck. We already had an expanded campaign system with book 4. Like, I didn't need more campaign. I had enough campaign. I just wanted my 1,000 suns. Like, I wanted them from the get-go, and now I've got them. Everyone hates me for it.
Well, I'm going to look up on the wiki after this. I'm going to read up about the Xenonites, because I really like that house, just the cream with the stuff, and I think I'm going to... Because you see them with the freaking flying bug guys,
Yes,
armor dudes.
The Voltarax,
Voltarax. They have scorpions all over.
Horus podcast special.
So why the hell do they have scorpions on them? They shouldn't have. They're just like, oh no, there's a Xenonite.
Well, some knights work directly for the Forge World. They're not a separate.
It seems
nice
like the Forge
household,
World's
but they're
working
owned
for
by
them.
The Forge World.
It's just really weird.
Oh, it's all fucked up. It's whatever the writer wants it to be on the day.
Oh yeah, why the hell? Who was that guy that apparently was some sort of fucking...
Oh yeah, okay. Do you want to get into that?
I don't know even what the hell I did. I was talking to some dude. Some dude was talking smack to me on 28 Inquisitor forums. He's just like, someone asked, can an Inquisitor tell a Deathwatch Marine? This is all 40k based stuff. So can an Inquisitor tell a Deathwatch Marine to come and work for him, even though the Xenos Inquisitor has alien mercenaries or some shit like that? And I said, No, not anymore, because they don't have any direct command over the Death Watch. The Death Watch are a separate entity, and they don't work alongside Order Xenos. They're more likely to kill the fucking
all
Order
forces
Xenos.
of the Imperium are at the behest of the Inquisitors notionally, but Astartes can still basically tell the Inquisition to get fucked.
Yeah,
and because the Inquisition's not just gonna, unless if they can avoid it, they're not just gonna like go to war with an Astartes chapter, because that will just generally end up badly for the Inquisition, especially if it's a chapter who has a lot of friends. As I'm sure the Death Watch would, considering that it's made up of participants from every fucking chapter.
Yeah, so I said, basically they'd say just get fucked. You're an Inquisitor, fuck off. Like, where the fuck? Like, we're doing better work anyway, get out of here now. Because that's what the book entails now, allegedly. So then some dude's just like, nah, that's not how it is. And I'm just like, nah, mate. Nah, sorry. Phil Kelly fucking ruined it for everyone. Go ask Phil Kelly. And then it turns out this dude was like a writer or something.
Alright, so you end up in a discussion with... I say discussion, I mean, there was a lot of swearing from you. Andy Hoare, who's the guy who's in charge of writing, like, the Blood Bowl game. Currently, he's in charge of specialist games at Forge World. So he's in charge of, like, Blood Bowl, Hobbit, all of it. He's in charge of that, and you ended up basically swearing your head off at the guy. But, to be fair, I fully support that, because, as we've said before, we, on this channel, don't give a shit. We'll tell it exactly how we see it. And you told exactly how you saw it to him, which is Phil Kelly destroyed the previously established fluff for the Death Watch because he felt like it. And Andy Hoare's conversation to you, and this isn't verbatim, obviously, because I don't know where there are screenshots of the conversation that people put up because they thought it was hilarious. His response to you was basically, I read through the book after Phil Kelly wrote it, and I like what he did with it. And it's like, that's not good enough for us. You've changed the fluff, right? And there was no need to. He did it because he could. That's fine. We don't agree with it. And we are your paying customers. Do our opinions count for nothing? Because what I got from that conversation was... And I said to them, myself and another friend of ours, Adam, here in Melbourne, was on there. And we said, I'd personally love to debate with them about the topic. None of my righteous anger or anything like that. Like, I'd like to sit down, point for point, like a What Broke the Fans, but a really well-researched one, with all my gripes, and talk to some of these writers and say, why'd you do this? Why'd you do this? Why'd you make this choice? And see what their answers are. And if they can give me the answers, we'll get the closure we need. Right? If they've got a fantastic answer, I think you and I will both take a fantastic answer on board. But when this other fuck's day, and the guy who owns the podcast that's like you pay for every episode...
Does that can't come on, did he?
That was the other guy that was arguing with you in the thread.
Oh, fuck. What a fuckhead, man.
The,
That was him. I wasn't even fucking paying attention.
Imagine this channel, listeners, imagine this channel if you had to pay for each episode, and that guy basically, was arguing with us. Anyway, he's like sucking the Games Workshop dick hard in that conversation, and was like, these writers research this world really well, and you just wouldn't understand it. And I said to him, I wouldn't understand it, really, that they just know so much more than me. Well, can you please explain why C.S. Godot had Eldar using chimeras to get around instead of grav tanks? Can you please explain why Marines are armed with multi-lasers in the same novel? Can you please explain this? Can you please explain this? And the guy just was like, these writers, they do all the research. You just wouldn't understand.
You wouldn't understand, Macca. That's legit his fucking argument. That's all it is. You don't understand.
So I obviously called him on the bullshit, and I said, look, I would like to ask Phil Kelly, why did you do this? And, for example, some of the decisions made with, like, Codex Chaos Space Marines. Why did you do this? And naturally, the conversation ended abruptly. Not because I was booted or anything, although you did get an account ban.
Did I?
Oh, wasn't it after that? I think that probably added to your account ban. Because you probably got reported by someone. Because the admins on that page weren't happy with your style of conversation.
They can suck my
I was
ass.
very polite. I was very polite to them, but you were very antagonistic. which again
Well,
I
they
I support.
destroyed fucking.
Yeah, you just
I have Death Watch
call it how
Marines
it
in my
is.
fucking metal Death Watch Marines in my fucking case, man. They're fucking useless.
Yeah, well, now they work for
Honest to God,
themselves.
you
They're
know-
a chapter.
No, they're not. They're on fucking suicide watch, mate. 24 hours a day for the rest of their lives because they want to fucking kill themselves. Because Phil Kelly did this to them, man, not them.
Phil Kelly has coasted along on his credentials from 4th edition, and I think for too long. The only reason he's gotten away with everything he has is because he's not Matt Ward and Brock and Kratos. Because
trying to get
like Matt Ward, he like fucked Grey Knights, he fucked Necrons, and like I think we can agree that Matt Ward, brilliant crunch writer, knows how to make stuff that's really strong and has great internal balance in a codex where there's lots of viable options, but he cannot balance shit against external codexes. Like, all his codexes that he created go really well against one another, but the minute something from outside steps in, it just gets, like, it's violently sodomized by his codexes, and his fluff is just the fucking worst, right? And then along comes Phil Kelly, and Phil Kelly's sort of like the opposite. He writes this pretty good fluff, and then he just takes a big steaming shit down the neck of the codex's actual, like, fighting power. Unless it's Eldar, and then all of a sudden he like fluffs them. He gets like professional fluffers in to like, you know, fucking wank them off until the Eldar gets super powered. And then for some reason Phil Kelly gets a pass, but Matt Ward doesn't. Like, what the fuck? Like, are you going to tell me that Codex 6th edition Eldar was balanced? Are you going to tell me that Wave Serpents firing ignores cover
balanced.
fucking
Every
60-inch
fucking-
range guns makes fucking sense? No.
You could take any unit and fucking win games. How is that not balanced?
And you
Even
know,
the basic truth.
what about fifth edition Space Wolves? Phil Kelly wrote, right? And the fluff in that's
Thunderwolves, right? That's when the Thunderwolves came out.
Well,
No,
not just that. I was thinking more the. All right, things like Longfangs.
Thundercover was the
you
main
have
theme there.
Longfangs, Grey Hunters, things like that, or Grey Slayers, whatever, are better than fucking Space Marine ones, right? Well, and they're the same points cost. And you get all like, you know, and Space Marines will have like the chapter tactics, the combat tactics, and then over on the side is like Chaos Space Marines, the unloved red-headed stepchild who have none of the same shit and cost the same points. And it's like, why are they making these decisions? Do I not have a right as a customer buying their product to ask them why they made these decisions? Like you see, at least in video games, for example, right? People like Angry Joe and that, they get to go and actually sit down with the developers of these games. Obviously, Angry Joe, a little bit more popular than piece of shit cunts that you and I are, but they get to sit down with these developers and say, why are you making this decision? How are you testing your game? That kind of thing. And they call them
Actually,
to,
just on that before I
account
forget.
on it.
Just before I forget, Angry Joe was playing fucking Warhammer Dawn of War 3 this afternoon, Australian time. So his night time yesterday. And yeah, he'll be doing it tomorrow as well if this gets uploaded in time. So definitely check out his channel because give him a follow if anything, and you've got a chance to fucking win a copy of Dawn of War 3 if you follow his channel and hit us up in his competition. Obviously, when he's online, you've got to type in the fucking correct code and you go into a draw to win shit there and there. It's all fucking live and shit. And he had some stuff like, well, I think one of them was what was his favorite unit, which is Noise Marines, and what is his, what was the first Emperor's Champion model. For what chapter was the first Emperor's Champion model made for? The Black Templars and stuff. And what's the race to be actually destroyed by Games Workshop? And that'd be the squats and stuff. So yeah, he gave away a fair amount of code.
Are you sure it wasn't Chaos Space
for...
Marines? They've been pretty fucking destroyed at this point.
They have been evaporated.
I just want to mention as well, in case people are curious, no, we're not actually affiliated with Angry Joe in any way, shape, or form. I don't even know if I've ever even commented on one of his videos. I probably have. We don't know the guy. We're just advertising it because, hey, someone who listens to us might be able to get something free out of him because we don't.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll give away something when we hit like 1,000 subs, I guess.
I like some of his shit.
I do
some
like
of his shit. I don't like.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, he's a good.
I didn't like
it's
his stance
entertaining,
on Gamergate too much, but I did really approve of when he like shuts down games and bad gaming practices and the corporate commander thing. That really appeals to
like
me.
when he called out Dead Man's or No Man's Sky rather. Dead Man's Sky, No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
That's what 40k is, and people are still sucking the dick. If it was a computer game, people would have gotten a fucking refund by now. But whatever.
Yeah, we should be able to get a refund for the Chaos Codex.
Oh, give me back. Oh, fucking Jesus. Oh, that'd be sick.
But no, because, right, like, compare Warhammer to computer games. They're different mediums, but there's a lot of similarities. Like, all those precious formations and data slates you're buying, those are the DLC of 40k, right? The 40k codexes, they're the fucking expansion packs, right, to the game. And when they patch in a dodgy, broken expansion pack that fucks a game...
FAQ fixes. No, we fucked the rest of the game, sorry.
So,
like,
and most computer games, like, you look at, like, StarCraft from Blizzard, that shit is rebalanced, like, every fucking week, right? When they
I don't know, what about Counter-Strike Go is fucking unbalanced as fuck. It's ridiculous. CSGO is out of control, and every time they fucking try and fix it, they just fuck it up even more. It's kind of, I think maybe some GW developers are working on CSGO, though.
But you've also got to look at the demographic buying it as well. I mean, CSGO is like the... that and Call of Duty is like the ultimate in kids using the N-word and fucking...
The fucking CSGO is one of the top esports played in the fucking world.
I know it is.
So
you've got to look at the player base as a whole. The player base as a whole is...
But this doesn't matter about it needs balance, because these companies, people are getting $1 million per year as income from competition sponsorships. Sports teams are developed around this game. If fucking AFL was unstable, it's like it's just like he brought a knife into the fucking arena. Now he's just stabbing everybody. Oh, there's nothing against the rules that says you can't do this. But yeah, I don't know. It's just you'd think they'd have a little bit more balance. At least it's a lot more balance.
You know what Games Workshop actually reminds me of more as a sport? Basketball, when like the start of basketball, when they just keep coming up with bullshit rules every time like something doesn't go their way as they're playing the sport. That's like Games Workshop. This is overpowered. Hey, well, why don't you try this new codex?
But it wasn't designed for fucking competitive play. It was Counter-Strike.
No.
CSGO was.
Well, I don't think either of us wants perfect balance in 40k, but we want some semblance of balance.
I just wanted my legions back, man. They couldn't even do that. That's why I started playing 30k.
Chaos have legions now, Cat. Okay, Chaos have legions. They're not very good. Some are good, some are bad. So, and some of the whack gamers that we know have managed to make them work by doing whack gamer things. Which we do need to get onto that topic shortly, so we'll just quickly cover
we'll just go
the
through
last
these
thing.
things. Yep. So we'll go through the knights. The Mechanicum Knight Combine, and you've got the Mechanicum Knight Battle Line. It's 220 for 2. That is a saving of, because I believe individually they're about 180, so that's 360. So that's a considerable saving. And then for 3 you get for £380. Again, that's some sort of saving.
Yes.
So nothing new on them. I don't know if you get anything added. I think you might get an extra head. I don't know.
Well, you can cross their heads over and put different heads on different ones if you want, but the Megara Knights are not very good in the world of Knights. They're okay. But the Atropos is fantastic. So...
the one with the black hole gun.
Yes,
yeah, nice.
Yes. I think great value bundles. Legion Custodes, Grey Falcon, Pattern Jet Bike. In squads of 1, 3, and 6.
And you are getting a saving?
You're only getting a saving on the 3 bundle. The 6 bundle is the same cost as the 3 bundle doubled.
Wow.
So the only one you actually get a genuine saving on is the 3 bundle, I guess.
It saved you a click, I guess.
Yeah.
Saved you a click.
Do
you like it?
Yes, I do. I do quite like it, actually. I think it's cool. I just find it weird that they went for this and not the Eagle Proud bike.
Yeah.
This is much more like their tanks and the dick bikes. Whereas I think most of us figured that they would do something similar to the 40k Master of the Raven Wings jet bike, with that big eagle prow. That looks like it's straight off a Battlefleet Gothic battleship. But yeah, no, I really like this. The Lance is cool. It's a bit something I've never quite got about Lances in 40k. Like, Lances are designed to pretty much like one use only. On a night, you charge in, you break the lance, or you skewer your opponent, you let go and you keep galloping, pull out the sword or whatever. You can't like drive a spear into someone's chest at however fucking fast the jet bike goes. Like, let's say motorbike speeds. Let's just say 60 mile an hour, right? Let's just say 100k an hour, and you put that spear into someone's chest. I don't want to still be hanging on to that spear, because that's gonna, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's gonna, like, very quickly that person's body is gonna slide from one end of the spear to the other, and now you're gonna be dragging a fucking corpse along with one hand, and you got no seatbelt.
Games Workshop has that covered, man. I'm sure Phil Kelly can pull something out of his ass to disprove.
No, Phil Kelly, it's a free pass. Okay, you have to pick up someone else. So yeah, so I don't know the whole like Lance thing.
Yeah, I don't get the whole Lance thing either, but people love the cavalry thing. They love the Lance thing,
yes.
So whatever. Usually, I'd like to point something out as well. On the miniature, they're always pointing it forward. On horses, I know for Cav, back in the day, they used to have, like, near their stirrup thingy, where they have the little foot, they'd have, like, a little hole where they could rest the lance upwards.
Well, on your pauldron, on armour, funny thing, I know a lot about armour. On the armour, there was often what they call a nook in the actual armour for the lance, or when the lance is in the couched position, tucked in under your arm, there was also a hook that you could rest the lance on to help take some of the weight.
I'm talking
in the charging position. Oh, well, I'm talking medieval knights and Napoleonic era lances.
They're in the stirrup. They just had like this little thing where they put it in and it'd just rest in there, and they just hold on to it and it'd face upwards. So they just
40K,
didn't have to constantly fucking hold it out there. But I guess his armor, he could just switch his armor off and his.
You know what 40k lacks, Cat, that real world militaries used to have that I could see in 40k working really cool?
Pineapples?
No, mounted infantry, where the infantry basically would rock up on horses to the battle and then dismount to do the actual fighting. So like a rapid response, whereas in 40k the guns are mounted to the bikes, but what would happen is the Marines would drive the bikes up, hop off the bikes, then crawl into a hole in the ground, into a shell crater, and then shoot out of that. Like, the bikes are just there to get them from point A to point B. Like, get in, get the fuck out real quick. Mounted infantry. That's something that we don't have, and I'd love to see
for the rhinos, I guess. I don't know. I wish the bike could just be by itself, like on Judge Dredd, how he can be like, bike, initiate crowd control. And the bikes are like, yeah, stay away. If you stay away 30 meters, if you do not comply with this order, you'll receive 6 years in the ISO cubes. So I don't know.
I love Judge Dredd.
Also, I don't know why the fuck, like, a 25mm cannon in real world will fuck up mostly anything, and then you have an autocannon on a Predator tank, and it's as effective as a fucking, I don't know.
Well, the autocannon on a Predator tank is like 75mm round. It's like a light fucking field gun.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It has the same.
25.
Okay,
yeah,
for those who only play 40k, not 30k, in 30k, the Predator gun is actually called a Predator cannon. It's not an autocannon. It's actually a 4-shot autocannon in the Horus Heresy.
Which works well.
It makes a lot more sense.
It's still not attractive to take. They should have, even if it was 6, maybe people take it, but it's 4, still just not.
Yeah, I think it's a real disappointing thing with Games Workshop, how every time a gun gets mounted on a tank, it has the exact same fucking stats. It's like, you can't dial up something to twice the size and give it the same stats, or halve its size and put it on an infantryman and give it the same stats. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, there should be some sort of bonus for having it on a vehicle. Like, definitely. The way a las cannon works, like whether it's better range or something like that, I don't know. Like, I've always felt twin linked doesn't work well as a rule, especially on things that are like ballistic skill 5, like dreadnoughts. Why can't twin linked? You should be able to make the call before you fire, whether you're going to reroll to hit or reroll to wound. would be an interesting
Yeah,
way
I
of
guess
running the
like power
two-linked rule.
claws. Yeah, I guess so.
But you have, making you have to pick it though before you roll the dice. You have to pick which it's going to be.
Yeah, but doing that whole picking thing, that's kind of like why they got rid of. They let pre-measuring be a thing because that way people don't bitch and complain about it. So they're like, oh no, I meant to do this and stuff, or something that I forgot to do. So I like it that it's implemented.
Remember when fucking... You see, people like to complain now about things like Quad Mortar spam and Lehman Russ spam. This wasn't a problem in 3rd fucking edition because people either really good at guess range or they weren't. Whereas now, everything just pinpoint fucking lands on your shit. That's something, like, Ordnance is no less accurate now than it was, but the actual, like, aiming point is far more accurate.
No, I like that. That's fine. That means that...
I think there should be more scatter for indirect fire than this, full scatter. It's like... Yeah,
that it always hits is kind of the
there thing. There should be a second scatter dice. That's what it should be, actually. A second scatter dice, so that an indirect shot will always scatter. It has no to hit symbol. Because if you're firing a fucking basilisk at a target 100 inches away, and you can't see that target, and you just roll a hit anyway, it doesn't matter if you roll double sixes, it just perfectly fucking hits them. That shouldn't be a thing.
But artillery you can get a perfect hit.
You and I have been around real life artillery. How often do the fucking drop shorts hit their target on the first salvo?
Okay, but they can effectively do it if you have a good crew.
This
is the thing. You should be able to upgrade the crew as well. There should be that implemented as well to have crappy new guys. Trained guys and well-trained veterans.
Yeah, but the well-trained guys are all going to have fucked backs, and they're all going to be like jaded as fuck.
So you got to roll to see. You got to roll only on a 5 or 6 today.
Got to roll a jaded test where they tell the lids to get on the guns.
Anyway, so we should go into...
You have to roll another D6 called the Bombardier test, where other people walk past them and say, "Hello, Corporal," and they just lose their shit at them for a turn. No, I'm a fucking bombardier. We get that joke.
So we should do the
questions.
You put up on the Facebook page. If anyone is listening and they don't know that we have a Facebook page, it's Facebook. Just look up the Outer Circle. You little bit of looking and you'll understand. It's us. We're the gaming one. You asked if anyone has any questions for a weekly Scrubdown this weekend. Please comment below and we will do our best to answer them. So we've got a fair few questions. The first one is from Dave Dutch, I'll call him. I don't want to use his full name just in case he doesn't want me to. How do you guys fight Hobby Block? After cracking out around 3k points of building and base coding my Iron Warriors, I can't seem to get my ambition. But what the hell?
It's a little bit wordly.
It's a little
bit weirdly worded.
Hazard stripes and whatnot. So, and then Eddie D replied, "Don't build so much. Do small parts of your army, complete it, and start the next batch. Leave your favorite models till last as a treat. I've just finished my first batch of my new army Space Wolves," and then he posted a picture of that. So that's one way of doing it with it. Do you have anything to add to that, Macca?
I find books are a fantastic source, but something else I wanted to touch on, if I go into, say, the Primarchs, right, on Forge World's website, so I pick a random Primarch like, let's pick a Vulcan, right? I pick Vulcan. Something they used to do, up until I think Vulcan was the last of them actually, is they actually released a video, which I'll play now. Only goes for 5 minutes. Called the Genesis of a Primarch.
Vulcan is the Primarch of the Salamanders, the 18th Legion. His capsule crash-landed on the volcanic death world of Nocturne, where he was found and raised by a blacksmith. During his youth, he not only learnt his craft as a blacksmith, but also led the people of Nocturne against the Xenos raiders. The pose and the idea for the base came out of a design meeting with Mark, who suggested having Vulcan smashing his way through a wall, perhaps an emplacement or a fortification like Span 5. We really wanted the pose to emphasise the strength and power of Vulcan, the largest of the Primarchs. In fact, Vulcan is as big in his power armour as Horus is in his Terminator plate. As for the detail on the Draken scale, I not only wanted to have the salamander iconography, the flames, the drake skin, but also have a slight reptilian feel to how Vulcan had crafted his own unique suit of armour. With the Fire Drake Skull Cassar, it is described as being this huge Fire Drake skull on his shoulder, and it is important because it is part of Vulcan's history, where he was challenged by the Outlander. With his hammer, Dawnbringer, it's important for me for the hammer to look strong, again like Vulcan, strong and powerful, but not to take over the piece. And I think we had the basic design on the cover of Vulcan Lives. So we tried to use that shape because it is a strong looking hammer, and then Will did the basic shape, and then I then elaborated it with jewels and flames, just to bring the hammer itself in with the armour that Vulcan's wearing.
So yeah, Forge World used to do these videos on the Forge World visual feed. I don't know if you've watched those videos before, Kat?
Yeah, now and then.
Now, also my apologies to anyone who the sound might have blown their ears out there. But yeah, so obviously when they release things like that, it helps to really get you in the mood. They say, oh, this is the thought we had behind this army, this is how we wanted to do it, how we wanted to sculpt it, the look we're trying to convey. When I listen to something like that, when I have a novel or an audio novel, that helps keep me going, right? And the other thing is a bit of that self-discipline, the forcing yourself to do it. I don't think anybody really looks forward to the grind of painting dozens and dozens of tactical marines, but you force yourself through it, and like Eddie said, you give yourself that reward at the end, like a character or a tank or something more interesting. So that's my take on it. And I do really miss that they're not putting out more of these Genesis of a Primarch videos. I don't know why they stopped them, because I think they were fantastic. A great way of getting inside the designers' heads. But yeah, Kat, any thoughts of yours on it?
Oh yeah, I got a lot on it. So I wrote down some notes here. But the definition of his block, he's got painter's block, so it's not like a motivation, but I think it's covered on both. But so lose the ability to produce new work, or experiences to the creates a creative slowdown. The condition ranges in difficulty from coming up with original ideas to being unable to produce work. So is a block motivation? For motivation, some days when I wake up myself, I just don't want to do anything at all. I don't want to go to work, even on the weekend. I just want to stay in bed or whatever. I'm not really feeling it today, and I start to shift blame on people or other things, which is like, I don't have enough money to go out, or whatever. For my hobby, it's usually my hobby area is too messy, so I have to clean it before I paint, which is a habit that I have gotten into. Or I look at the amount of work that I have ahead of me, and if I'm making a big army and I've planned it out and stuff, and I just feel demotivated and defeated. But you got to remember, the effective range of an excuse is 0 meters, And if you're looking for a reason not to work, you'll always find one. You will pay one of two prices in life: the price of discipline or the price of regret. And if you can weigh those two prices up on weight, the price of discipline weighs grams, whereas the price of regret will weigh tons. So create good habits, like Macca said. A boss of mine used to tell me to make my bread every day, like every day, no matter what. And it was a simple task. It was a mundane task at best. He said, make an effort to get up that 3 or 5 minutes earlier, to put in that little bit of effort to make your bed. He said, if you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and you'll be encouraged to do another task and another task. By the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a shitty day, you'll always be able to come home to a freshly made bed that you made, and it gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be a better day. So finding motivation for me, it might not be fun washing my clothes, for example, but the motivation for me washing my clothes is so I don't smell like shit. And that's enough for most people to wash their clothes. So there's a motivation, not to smell.
I like how you say most people.
So we've all been to events where that's not a thing. But
we've all played Magic.
So when I look at the types of painters, there's a couple of types of painters that there are. So you've got the commission painter, for example. You and I have both painted miniatures for money before. I've done it for a shop. You used to do it. You do it for yourself, right? You sell your armies on or whatever. Eventually, well, it's really more selling it.
Well, I do most commission painting I do for friends, but the kicker is I do it in my timeline.
Oh, okay, right. So, but for people that have it as a job, as their own job, the motivation there would be if they don't paint. It's like a normal job, right? If they don't paint, if they don't work, they won't be able to pay rent. They won't have a place to live. They won't be able to eat food. So the motivations there is easy. Other motivation that I asked some of the commission painters. Other motivations they said was that they can update their portfolio or their web page, Facebook page. They can post more pictures online. A lot of them look forward to the next project for something different to break up the monotony. So some of these dudes will be painting tournament armies with 120 zombies, so at high standards. So they're doing the same thing over and over again 120 times, and they've got to do it again 120 times. So one of them said that that it was to do a different color or a scheme was usually a huge motivation for him to just be like, fuck this, I'm doing it. He did it in 3 days, and then got into something else. He's just like, I wanted to actually paint color rather than just browns. So then you have the scholar, which I believe I fit into. So I'm constantly reading and watching tutorials. Not so much I've taken classes, but I really more go to friends' houses that are better skilled than me, and I try and get as much information from them as I can. The motivation there is to learn, but it sucks when you put it to practice and it doesn't turn out like you wanted to or expected it to, and you got subpar results. But that makes me want to learn more and see what I did wrong and what I can do better. Asking some of my favorite artists how I can improve on what I did and show my work, or copying their techniques and trying to put what they do in practice. Then you've got the gamer. They're really not interested in the art side of the hobby. A base coat, wash, dry brush is good enough. Looking at a pile of miniatures, you have to paint and put together, after you've put a whole bunch of miniatures together over weeks, then seeing how much you have to paint can be demotivating. The timeline can push people to paint whenever they don't want to, because that tournament might be in a month's time, so it usually pushes them to get there. I say it does, but we all know people that are painting an hour. Fuck, I mean, I've seen people painting at the tournament, for fuck's sake. Anyway, it can push people there. That's a motivator. So with that, for those guys, they make small goals. Instead of seeing a big pile of shit. So how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So don't just paint everything at the same time. Do what Eddie said. Break it down, because we can get boring. I used to, for my big armies, I used to paint the troops first, then I paint the specialist troops, then the elites, and then the HQs, because the troops are usually dying first. They're coming off the table, and people look in from that order. They look at the HQs, then the specialist troops, and the elites and stuff. So, and even that, you get better at whatever scheme you're implementing, and usually by the end of it, you know what you're doing with the colors, and you can experiment a little bit better. So everyone has a different stuff to get done in the hobby, but you need to find the fun part of it. That is the main reason why people get into the hobby in the first place, I believe, for fun. So don't push yourself too hard that you're beginning to hate your hobby. When you're ready to sit down and work, it'll be there ready to welcome you back. So here's some more shit that I've said. This is you, man. This is you, not me. This is what happens when you ask a question. So make a to-do list. There's some phone apps, and get a phone app or a piece of paper and put it on your wall near your hobby area, and list out what you have to paint or goals, so you don't get sidetracked painting and making something else. For the motivation side of things, so you can play against your friends. Having 2 fully painted armies on a fully painted table of terrain is a great motivator, because not playing until you are fully painted. Fully painted is for closers, and making that, putting that into practice, saying you will never put anything on the table, play it unless it's painted, is a great motivator as well. And it shows the people that you respect. You respect that. You respect them because you've got that. Put the effort in as much as they have as well. So other things in life can grab our attention and pull us away from our painting, like video games, books, drinking booze, whatever. So distractions are hard to deal with, but to fix that, you can tell people that you're going to get shit done. So say to your hobby group, or a friend, your hobby friend, be like, yep, this week I'm going to get a squad of 5 guys done. So small realistic goals that you have a plan, you can that can help you get through it. Forums, a lot of forums have painting challenges. Odds 30k isn't really a forum, but it's you can put up your armies and stuff there for the narrative side of it. But they also used to run a painting challenge, and you could actually win stuff by those ones. Most of the forums, you don't win stuff. It's just you don't meet those goals or whatever. But it's not about winning stuff anyway. It's about letting people know you're going to do something and being a person of your word and actually going through with it. So demotivation. People have told me this about it as well. They've come to me and be like, I don't want to paint my army because I'm scared of what people say about it. And so calling people out that their work is shit, and people picking your shit apart when you have never finished something, anything, can be a heavy burden to bear. Because of this, it feeds people not getting anything done. So we all know the guy that has thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stuff. It's all put together and it's not painted. So for a boating course, I was in Townsville, and I had to swim in between these boys, right? And turns out these boys were shark feeders. And the instructors told us that if a shark starts circling you, don't panic, don't swim away. You got to, stand still, stand your ground. And if the shark does swim towards you, tries to take a bite, punch it as hard as you can in the nose, and the shark will turn away and swim. So there are a lot of sharks in this world. If you wish to complete your tasks, that's painting or otherwise, you will have to deal with them. Don't back down from those sharks. Don't physically punch them in the nose either. That's not what I'm saying. Just don't back down from them. Don't let them affect what you can do. Because, you will get shit done, and then you will build up on that. So set appointments on your phone as well. So your little phone has calendar on it. On Tuesday night, for example, is your painting night from 7 to 9. Or on Wednesday is your desk cleanup, 8 till 9. So set an alarm with a little reminder on it. So while you're watching cat videos on the internet, for example, your phone reminds you to get cracking on some painting. Points to note, with all this motivational crap, it won't be easy. So start each day with a task completed. Find support or friends to help you through. Respect everyone. Know that life is not fair and you will fail often. But if you step up when times are toughest, face down the bullies, lift up the oppressed, and never give up. If you do these things, you will get some shit painted, maybe. So, yeah, there's my long-winded fucking answer of your motivation question. So thanks for that question. That actually got me motivated as fuck there, Dave. So thanks very much, man. So the next question, we have Daniel
Daniel the Hawk, we'll call him.
The Hawk. I don't want to say all of everyone's names because some people get pissed off. We don't know whether everyone's it. But
yeah, we don't know what people's own personal privacy is, so we'll just
That's it. Yeah. So the Hawk, Das Hawk. How do you deal with win-at-all-cost players?
Well, we have two very different approaches, so yeah, I think you go first.
Well, I took it. So this spans like where and when kind of thing. So I think that events, the IFRS podcast have fucking touched on this. We've touched on it in the past as well. Events should have a rating system and tell people what they're getting into 100% and let people know. So for example, I just put down here a 1 or 3 system. So a 1, this is a win at all cost system. No fluff, no painting, all dick kicking. There's no love lost. It's 100% whack, nothing. So if you're not into whack and just the comp system, then don't come. They should, or whatever, be prepared for that. But they're letting you know what it is ahead of time. 2, a podium finish for kicking dicks, but awards also for pages of fluff creation. And there's free play after the comp and before the comp or whatever. So letting people know in the players pack 100% what the hell's going on for the day, and that there is dick kicking, but painting and stuff is also interesting. And then 3, for example, 100% narrative, fluff is a must. DMs at tables, win at all cost players need not apply. So it'd be great if, I don't know if Daniel, where this has come from, because some people might be going to events where it's advertised as fun and friendly, but it turns out everyone wants to cut everyone's throat on the table and become the next freaking MLG player of 40k or whatever. So that's in the tournament scene, the event scene. I really think that the event organizer needs transparency. A lot of that stuff's on Facebook now, so definitely just let people know what you are doing and have that transparency, and communication is key there. Now this is for both events and hobby scenes, player to player at your house, whatever. You need that communication open and the intent on what the outcome you want for your games. And so you want narrative or a campaign can also help influence that fluff side of stuff. Some people can't help but take OP shit, right? So they're just naturally competitive. They're the freaking, I don't know, alpha people or whatever, just complete and fucking assholes that have broken fucking brains and can't actually make a fun toy shoulder game about rolling dice. So tell them that it isn't fun to play them. Just be like, hey man, you got to tone it down because I'm not having any fun with you, right? You got to approach it like a thirsty person needing a glass of water. You don't want to be throwing acid in someone's face when you're telling them this, because it might, especially if they're your friend, you don't want to upset them or whatever, right? Just be like, hey man, you got to just tone it down or whatever, because it's not having fun here. Because it's about, right? So the way
like Tim when he's running his Voltrax.
Yeah, well, yeah.
See, we joke about it. That's our way of letting him know that he's a whack faggot.
No, I just say, you're what up, whack faggot, what up, bro? I send him messages at 3 in the morning. So, I just got another point here for him. If you want to keep people in check like that, just have a 60% crap units rule. So you have to take 60% troops or the most underpowered units in the games. I don't know, like for 30k that'd be recon squads or something. So people can only take 2 or 3 of the top tier units rather than, like, 6 Voltrax or whatever. So Tim from the ISRS podcast has created a system. I don't want to say what it is because I think it's still in development and he's getting only people to test it. But for example, I just come up with something here. So I have 6x6. I think I did mention it before actually. But anyway,
the Centurion.
So 6x6. Yeah, so Centurion. So we'll
just say they freely openly admit that in their show.
Okay, so it's just have whatever more narrative stuff, have more terrain, a 6x6 table, 50% terrain, have your limitations, have stuff there so people can mitigate that kind of OP stuff. If you want to see lots of infantry on the table, have lots of infantry on the table. But it's about communication, letting the person know. That's really more of a house rule, and at your club, meeting with strangers at an event. Who was my first? I can't remember my first, but I've done it so many times. So, for example, I would see how long I could go without doing anything until they said something. There was that time. And then there was another time I made heaps of mistakes. Like, just, what did I do? I overmeasured. Because this guy was like thin needle man. Anything I do, he was like remeasuring everything. So I'd like go an extra half inch, and then I'd move him. He'd be like, "Oh, no, that's an half inch." He'd move him back. I'm like, "Okay." It's like I got to move over
the passive aggressive approach.
That's definitely it. And I ended up drawing that game because I took so long. It was against one of the townspeople fucking jerks. And then sometimes I've just been an actual dick and just walked away from the table, gone to the toilet, done a shit, gone on my phone, made a call, just being an actual
check the stocks.
Stuff like that. So yeah, that's how I did it anyway at a comp. But that's when really, I was playing for fluff.
And that was the worst case scenario though as well.
That was 6th edition freaking. I was playing 6th edition freaking Death Guard against freaking Eldar and shit. Like, that was worst case scenario. That was against a complete and utter jerk. So sometimes I just gave him a win. I was just like, "Oh yeah, nice man." It's just like, "You're too intense for me. So what I'm going to go ahead to do is pack my stuff up now, and I'll just give you the win." So I've done that plenty of times as well. I'm just like, obviously, I said this is just not going to be fun for me, so I'm just going to give you the win, so I can go play somebody that I know and have fun instead. So I've done that as well. So yeah, what about you, Macca? You've done stuff like that?
Mine's a more direct approach because first thing is whack itself. I have my own. Everyone has their own definition of what constitutes whack, right? I see it all the time. People on forums, is this list whack or not? Whack is not a list. Whack is an attitude. I can't help but make that clear. Whack. You can be a whack faggot playing the softest list on earth, right? Is that fair to say, Kat? Like, if you rock up with the list and it's soft, but you're dick measuring every single inch...
I think it can be both. Now, if you come up with a bullshit fucking rule, list...
Yeah,
okay, but then you're Tim, and he's a whack faggot, and he just comes up with fucking... so it definitely is the list, man. It can be the list, or it can be an attitude. You can be a shit person.
We're, of course, being facetious. I don't actually think Tim's whack at all.
No, I think his list is. I think it was utter fucking bullshit.
His lists are strong, but... Mechanicum lists will always be strong. I've never played against Mechanicum gone, I've got this easy, right? Although I make the joke that him being whack because that's literally what someone called him on like just a random page. Who's this guy think he is? So that's why I'm picking on him right now because he is a friend of mine. But whack's an attitude, right? And the whack attitude, generally when you're making a strong list, sometimes things will not go as planned. Like, I was playing a game with my 1,000 Suns the other day, and I got very lucky with the psychic powers I rolled, and it made a certain unit much more powerful than they would have been if they hadn't had that psychic power.
Sec meta.
Right? Yeah, hashtag SecMeta.
Oh my
Right.
god, it's happening,
And-
people! I warned you all. I told you this. I told you this day would come. I explicitly said we should train each day an hour for it. Now who's laughing? Yeah, sorry, go on, man.
But no, like, so I rolled a telekinesis power, and it gave my Terminators the ability to move as normal, and then they cast a power which allowed them to move up to an extra 12 inches in my psychic phase and still be able to assault. So theoretically, I could move Terminators 18 inches a turn and still assault and run if I wanted to, right? And obviously that meant that a Terminator squad, which is normally quite slow and ponderous, became just an incredibly rapid unit, able to like literally chase down jet bikes. So with this in mind, that wasn't whack. That was just complete luck of the draw that game, right? But the unit
No,
became
whack. Sec meta is fucking whack as fuck, mate. We've told this.
Right.
Sec meta. It's what's called Sec meta.
You know, normally that unit's not whack, right? But also the attitude you play it with. Like people out there using Magnus the Red, you don't have to cast invisibility on Magnus. You don't have to cast his Dean Novas, right? If you choose to cast them, right, use them sparingly, maybe not whack. But if you're using them constantly trying to nuke someone's army off the board with a D-Blast, you're playing it whack. Sure, it's rules.
See, but
written,
that's the list. That's the list. You're saying
rules
that you
intended?
can.
Right.
Can you do that? Can you nuke someone's army with a good attitude and make them feel good that you're nuking their army? I fucking hate that personally, and they're taking the most powerful shit in the game just to win. And it's fucking obvious. It doesn't matter how fucking well they smile. They're not getting any fucking goddamn hand shandies from me. They're just going to get me on my phone and drinking in the toilet. That's what the fuck is going to happen. And they're not going to be able to finish their games.
Anyway, so whack to me is an attitude more than any particular one action. It's a series of different actions that forms an attitude. And my way of dealing with it is, Kat, you and I are both very good players, right? And this is not me trying to be arrogant, right, and full of hubris here, but we are quite good players. We've both been up, like, right at, I think I was once number 11 in Australia for 40k, and I was running fucking Chaos Space Marine lists, right?
Yeah, same. I was
and you were like, I think you were even in top 10, weren't you?
Yeah, I think I was third for a while.
Yeah, right. But, we're good players, right? We can win against odds, right? So if I'm playing a whack player, and it's happened before, we were playing at a tournament, I don't know if you were there that year, Kat, where I ended up playing Zombie Boy, who is a bit renowned now.
I left for that, yeah.
A bit renowned in the community. This guy rocked up to a tournament, right? And it's the ADF comp was supposed to be quite a narrative event, right? It was still a competition where there were podium prizes, but more than half the points you'd get were for painting and what is it called? Sportsmanship. So, you know, you could kick all the dicks all tournament, but if someone kicked dicks for half the tournament and just got a way better painting score, they'd beat you in the end anyway. So this guy rocked up, and his list at 1,800 points was Abaddon, Typhus, 120 Plague Zombies, 2 squads of 3 Nurgle Obliterators, and a couple of Helldrakes. And that was this guy's fucking list, right? So he would just swamp people with bodies while using the Helldrakes just to fuck everyone's day up, because this was at Helldrakes when they were at their height in 6th edition. I come up against this guy, and I have Raven Guard army. 3 tactical squads with 1 special weapon in each squad. A scout squad, a stock chaplain, a stock librarian, a stock whirlwind, squad of Stern Guard in a drop pod with 2 grav guns, and 2 Storm Eagles with the multi-melter upgrade. And that was my list. This guy clearly was going to kick my ass. And the mission was to kill points. So what I did was I took my squads and my HQs, and I put as many as I could inside my Storm Eagle transports, and I went into flying mode. And I just drove around the table, firing pipe plates with their frag launchers at him all game, and shooting up his Helldrakes, and I just refused to let him actually charge my units with Abaddon and Typhus like he wanted. And because I did that, he couldn't possibly win the game, and it didn't matter how whack he was. And I mean, this is a guy who would sit there and call over judges, like neutral judges who were roaming the area every turn. It would call them over. Oh, can this do this? Can this do this? This looks like it's within an inch of this, right? To the point where the judges said, you need to stop calling us over because you've been wrong every single time and it's really starting to grate on our nerves, right?
Lol.
And every player who had played him beforehand came up to me and said, please beat this guy. And I absolutely fucking demolished this guy, right? With an army that was just mostly stock fucking Marines, just by using a tactic of using my flyers, right? And that's what I like to do. Put them in their place by just beating them at their own game and saying, like, it's not about the list. It's about actually having some fucking skill in this game and knowing what the weakness of the other guy is. Ideally, yes, the list will be great. You know, it'll all sync together and the rules on the tabletop and the fluff will sync up. It doesn't always happen. And when it doesn't, you've got to use your generalship to win those games. And that's what I do. I show the whack faggots that, like, look, you're not going to win this game. I'm not going to let you win this game with your whack attitude, right? And I will tell them that they've got a whack attitude in no uncertain terms. And that's what I did that game. And that guy has not gone to one of those tournaments ever since because he pissed off that many people and had that many people say to him, you have a whack attitude. He was like, no, I don't, and started arguing with them. He even ended up arguing with the fucking TO at the tournament. And the TO said, look, you're not even welcome anymore. So, unfortunately, these players are out there. And that's their attitude. And he was extra salty after losing to me. And let's face it, tears are the most delicious of nectar. So that's how I personally deal with whack faggots.
Cool. Well, thanks for your question, Daniel. Andy asks some bullshit. I can't remember what he asked. First, I've actually cut out a lot of it.
He said,
and then I've
our
just put
thoughts
down
on baby head conversions of Nurgle Titans.
Okay, I'm not answering that question. You can answer that, but
I think you know exactly how I fucking feel
anyway,
about it.
I'll answer this question first. My thoughts on people who can't deliver on commission armies despite charging insurmountable amounts and and how to protect yourself again as a customer. So that, I'm guessing, goes into the whole thing. There was a scammer that I did see. There was a scam. Some guy was selling an army that I was told about. I asked him about the army. I was just like, what the hell are you selling this army? It's like half done. It looks like shit. He's like, yeah, man, it is shit. I paid somebody $720 to paint this Battle of Kelth box set, and it came out like this. So fuck holding onto it. And it legit had like 3 colors on it. It looked atrocious. No basing. It looked awful.
No basing, no unit marking. I think 2 models in the whole army had decals. It was like 2 random TAC Marines.
Yeah, and then there was other things. So this person who had done this to this poor guy had done it to at least a dozen other people. There are a dozen other reports. There was rumors, though, that he just kept the Kelth box set and gave him those armies. They were pre-painted, and he just gave them to him. And then I don't know how true that is, but people said they'd seen them before on the table. But the fact is that that was his encounter with this person, and this person would send his friends to comment people on their Facebook and be all like, oh, you can't prove that any of these transactions, we'll sue you for defamation if you talk about this. All this utter actual shit just over a painting commission. The point is, the cunt paid for a service and he didn't get what he wanted, which is shit. Like, and then they're trying to use the law on their side. I hate scammers. I fucking hate them. And I was ripped off $500,000 through credit card fraud. $500,000 fucking dollars. I had to go through the police and shit. It was about a 4-year battle of proving the credit card companies that I didn't actually owe this fucking money. So I'm kind of taking out credit cards out online without any of my identification, and with most cases without signing for them. Since 2012 in Australia, they've changed legislation on how you get credit cards online. Thank fuck. Because this happened to a fuckload of people. And this person, the police caught up with him after doing an investigation over 4 years, collecting evidence over $500,000 worth of credit cards. He got off because he had a lawyer, and yeah, the only thing that was going to happen to him, even if he was found guilty, was a year's worth of community service anyway. So I'm sick and tired of people hiding behind the fucking law when they do the wrong fucking thing. Oh, you can't prove it. Oh, what up? People will sue you for defamation. And so I went ahead and I made a whole bunch of fucking fake accounts. I made who puts their shit on? This is open source shit as well. These people freely have their shit on the internet that I can look up and get their pictures. So it's open source. It's not fucking defamation. It's fucking open source. Anyone can do it. And I reposted this comment about this guy fucking being a scamming asshole. Had his picture there. Had the army that he painted. Just like, this is my experience. Neg 1 rep to this dude, basically. And then I got a message saying, this is defamation, you know. People have sued for less. And it's like, I don't give a shit. People fucking shoot people in road rage incidents. So what? I don't care. There's shit online that is false as well.
Some interesting things to point out there. Sorry to cut you off, Kat, but with that, and a lot of the people and admins on different pages that you posted this information on complaining, what proof do you have of this? And then in the comments straight away, it would be like 2-3 people pop up. Yeah, I've dealt with this guy. Here's my story. Yeah, I've dealt with this guy. Here's my story. And then there'd be like one random guy that would always pop up and be like, no, this person is an honest and integrity person, and just totally fucking back the bullshit.
Yeah,
and it's like, you can't have dozens of people, especially people who are known to be good blokes in the community, getting told, no, you're wrong, you don't have the facts. When it's like they're like sharing their fucking own personal stories of the incidents. It's like, hang on a minute.
Yeah, and then if those people who run those forums, some of them got stung by this guy as well, and it's just the fact that they complain to Facebook and shit, and they are hiding behind the whole lawyer thing. Well, fuck, you run events. Your public information is everywhere, and you're ripping people off. It's a stupid idea. It's really, really dumb, because you don't know who you're ripping off, and it's the same way as cutting someone off in traffic. You just don't do it. It's not nice. And that person might have just killed their entire fucking family. They might not have anything left to lose. They might run you off the road and beat your head in with a rock. Just don't do it. Just be a decent person. It's not hard. Don't rip people off. Don't scam people. There's that. But unfortunately, there are these people in the community. So now there's eBay. For some reason, these people hate negative rep. But on eBay, you get a star system, which apparently, according to them, isn't fucking defamation. But anyway, whatever. So on eBay, if you're buying shit from eBay, definitely look up the person's trade history. Look at all the negative shit that they've gotten. Sometimes they have 99% good, and then they'll have 1% bad. There'll be 5 comments or a couple of comments saying that either the shit was not on time, it wasn't as ordered, it wasn't the right size in clothing, for example.
Well, important thing
whatever.
to point out there, if things are good, generally people will
definitely, and
say
there'll be good shit as well.
If they're negative, when people have negative experience, they will tell you everything that went fucking wrong, right? So you will not get when something's gone good on eBay, for example, we'll use eBay as an example, there'll be a one line, prompt payment or prompt postage, good seller, would recommend, those kind of lines. When shit goes south, that's not what you see. You see, this guy did this, ripped me off for this, did this, right? Same thing on Steam, right? Pretty much everyone who's listening to us now must have Steam, right? You hop on Steam on your computer and look up the reviews for a game, right? And look what they say, good game, great game, blah, blah, blah. And then when you get to the people who hate it, there's a fucking essay every time, like the most upvoted fucking comments about people who've had a negative experience. There'll be like a fucking essay of negativity. Right, so if you see an essay of negativity, that should start setting off the first fucking warnings.
But though said that might just be a disgruntled person. But if you're having,
as I say, warnings.
If there's 99,
not the alarms, just the warnings.
Yeah, you'd look it up, and you talk to the seller. But on Buy, Swap and Sell forums, obviously on Facebook, Gumtree or whatever. I don't know about Gumtree actually. There might be some sort of rating system, but there is no. For a lot of the time, there is no rating system, right? And obviously, this person coming to me as soon as I just reposted that this guy had a bad experience, that I had this guy harassing me, being like, it's defamation. It's just like, well, no, it's just some guy. Like, get off my back, cunt. So anyway, make sure that if they're known in your community, try not to buy from people that you don't know. Look at their Facebook, see if it's a hidden profile, see if it is new, see if you have any friends in common. I personally don't buy from people on buy, swap, and sell unless I have friends of friends that know them. Because people just do unfortunately just make fake accounts. They go on there and they say, hey, I have all this stuff. But they just don't sell it. I actually made a Facebook account, a Facebook group called War Game Scammers. That actually sounds like they scam. Anyway, so you can check that out. It's really more for the main ones. We've got that one with the shitty blue ultramarines on there. There was this guy called TJ Clark. Don't know if it's his real name. Don't give a fuck. Don't rip people off. He was selling spray painted. The product that he was saying is like Chrome, limited edition Chrome Space Marines from GW. $300 for a set of 5. Backpack missing. They were blatantly just silver spray painted fucking Marines out of one of the old snap together Marines, right? Blatantly.
And not even old ones, they were like Black Reach era, like 5th edition.
Yeah, that.
Marines.
So we know that Games Workshop has never fucking done that. So
and
the way to get around that
guy wouldn't have been called out for it either, right? Like, he wouldn't be on your page if, when people contacted him about it and said they are just chrome sprayed Marines, he'd just said, change the listing. If he'd said, sorry, I made an accident earlier, they're not limited edition chrome Marines, they're just chrome sprayed plastic Marines, I've been informed, that would have been the end of it. Instead, the guy would just block anyone who came to him asking about chrome Marines, would just block anyone and everyone.
And he was just trying to make a quick sale.
Exactly.
Just trying to rip someone off. So and then there's just me there. So I said, hey man, I hear you have some limited edition Games Workshop Chrome Space Marines. How much are you selling them for? That's right, you all told me to send him a picture of a goose, and he said, I do. One is missing a backpack. He wasn't after money, he was after trades, that's right.
Yes,
so then
$300 worth of trades.
Yeah, so he wanted to trade on. He wanted physical stuff, so then he could trade it on. And then I said,
well, there's no money path to follow, you see.
So I said, nice, man, nice. It's just like, well, this goose lays gold chrome eggs, trade. They told me to fuck off. So
that's right, yeah. Also on this, part of what Andy asks us is our thoughts on people who can't deliver on the commission armies and how to protect yourself as a customer. Recently, the Eye of Horrors podcast did a great episode with another mate of ours, James, on there, talking about their experiences with commission painters and looking after yourself. I think it's well worth checking out. I think it was episode 91 off the top of my head. Maybe episode 90, something like that, of their show. But the key thing, I think, to take away from it is, if you are paying for a commission painted army, after you've done your research on the actual seller, or sorry, the person you're commissioning to paint for you, don't pay everything up front. Get constant feedback, the two key things. And I don't mean pester them, right? You don't have to be a fucking bug in their ear. But me personally, when I paint things for friends and stuff like that, I'll send them pictures of it, right? If I'm having problems... Yeah. If I'm having problems with the work, I will tell them, so they don't come chasing me and go, hey, I haven't heard from you in 3 months, why isn't this done? Instead, I beat them to the punch, essentially, by saying, like, look, I've been trying to do this, hasn't worked for this reason, for example. So, like, we had a big heat wave go through town, where every day for about a week straight was 40 degrees Celsius. For the Americans, that's very hot, because you don't understand the fucking measurement systems used by 99% of the fucking world. So, on those 40-degree days, you just can't paint. You know what it's like, Kat. Just the paint, as soon as it comes out the pot, is dry. Right? So, and I was trying to paint armies people, and I just had to say, like, look, sorry guys, I wanted to paint them by this date, but I'm just not going to get anything done at the moment. I can't even paint my own shit. And I just had to put the brush down and just sit on it. right? But you tell people that, and you'll find they're pretty fucking accommodating, right? It's when you don't hear anything from your commission artist, and then you say to them, "Where is it?" and they go, "You'll get it when you get it." You know, when you get answers like that, that's when you got to start raising fucking eyebrows.
Yeah, definitely. If you're looking for a painting commission, I usually, if you want to look at their portfolio, you want to see
You'll know the good ones.
testimonials. Obviously, what James says, pay half. Usually, they'll have a payment system, pay half, and then half on completion. Obviously, get a time frame. Ask them about the time frame.
Registered post is another thing. Get your
Yeah,
armies.
look,
If you're getting your army mailed, always have it registered, so that at least it's got a tracking number or a signature or anything like that, so they can't bullshit you with, "Oh, Australia Post lost it in the mail, or Federal Express lost it in the mail," right? Cause,
Yeah, do that as a seller
really
as well,
common.
because there are shit customers as well. I guarantee you, there are shit people that are selling as well. If you're just selling or trading, for
Here
example,
in Australia,
on the
they'll
forum,
give you everything on tracking, and
sign on commission. Yep, and
if
also
you do through PayPal, they can
yeah,
upload the tracking number to
definitely.
PayPal, and PayPal will not release the funds until it says it's been delivered.
Yeah, that's also a key there. If you don't know the person, or if you're a bit sketchy on the thing, and don't, it's business. So even for friends, right? It's shit happens. Might not be their fault, but just say, hey, I put these safe havens in there. It's risk mitigation for me. That's all. I just feel a lot more comfortable doing it, and they shouldn't. If they're getting on your back about it, that's also a fucking flag as well. If they're just like, oh, why do you want to get Australia Post involved? You know, like the fuck. And then yeah, so there are a lot of scams out there. So
I think that pretty much sums it up, doesn't it?
yeah, that's about it. So thanks for your question, Andy. Then we've got Reese. He asks, what are your thoughts on the recent rumours for 8th Ed and the new custodian jet bikes? Well, we cover the jet bikes. Meh. They're kind of meh. Okay. Custode stuff is just OP as fuck. Everyone is rocking custodes. Kind of.
Custodes are dominating the WAC or competitive scene.
Yeah,
Not so much
well, I
WAC,
don't
just
know.
competitive. They are very competitive with little effort at the moment.
That
Custodes.
last big game at Warhammer World, no one took any custodes.
Oh,
So I don't know.
no,
it's
that
weird.
last big one, the competitive side of the gaming at Forge World, the top 5 armies were all custodes. Or
Well,
Talons of the
yeah.
Emperor lists, apparently. In the narrative event, it was completely different because nobody took any custode in the narrative. Anyway,
Jeez.
so yes, Reese asked us about the rumours for 8th edition. Believe it or not, despite what videos we put out, we don't give a shit because it doesn't affect us that much. There's nothing we can do about it. I think it's the big thing.
I posted a picture of Adam Sandler, actually, with the caption, fucking 7th edition, 8th edition, who gives a shit, right? I mean, for me, I don't play that much anyway, just because of my location. I hobby mainly, and I physically have about, I don't know, 4 years worth of works in my house that I can still just work on as hobby and put in a display case. If the game somehow goes to shit, which I highly doubt it will, people will just do it and suck Games Workshop dick like they always do. But if somehow they change it to Age of Sigmar, the community will just take it up and make a rule set for it anyway.
The
Like they have for unification wars.
The question is
Necromunda.
with going forward, in my opinion, what will happen. Because for a lot of us who are into like 30k and that, obviously major changes that happen in the core rules will greatly affect the black books and the red books. The red books
that's an issue.
are affected automatically out of the gate, unfortunately. The red books suffer every time a new book is released or a new model with experimental rules. They're immediately outdated, right, to one extent or another. Especially when a book releases, Black Book, which has a major rewriting of several units, which has happened in the past. That's a problem already, right? And that's without an edition change. When you have an edition change, it throws all sorts of spanners in the works every time. 6th to 7th is probably the most smoothest transition we've really had in any edition, because the only thing that really changed was the psychic phase. Apart from that, 6th and 7th play very, very similarly. Even the change from 3rd to 4th was a very minor change, but had more going on than 6th to 7th. 7th is really just an FAQ'd version of 6th. But it still took Forge World months to get FAQs out. And even then, I don't think they really play tested anything with those FAQs. That's the one thing that worries me with the 8th edition going forward, is clearly Games Workshop is not going through every list, every formation, every codex and balancing it and testing it against this new rule set. They're just going to push a new rule set out the door to sell a new rule set. And I'm cynical enough to know that as a business, that's exactly why they're doing it, because they're going to sell. Right? They're going to sell plenty of them. People are going to be like, oh, it's a new edition. They're all going to go out. They're all going to buy it. They're going to buy a limited edition box set with fucking leather-bound storage case or something. You watch Cat, that'll fucking happen now that I've said it. With special 8th edition fucking dice and 8th edition templates, and that shit happens every edition, right? And people lap it fucking up, and then they eventually sort of, their brains kick back in and they go, oh, what's happened happened.
I'm just going to lose $600.
Every edition has different outcomes for everyone, right? 6th edition fucked Dark Eldar. Dark Eldar dominated in 5th edition, right? 6th edition destroyed them. 6th edition killed Drago Wing because it just nerfed the fuck out of all their power swords, right? And Drago Wing all of a sudden couldn't hurt normal Terminators, and normal Terminators just started beating the shit out of Drago Wing. And on the other hand, when 6th edition rocked around, the already strong Necrons became fucking brutal because their flyers changed, right? And this is the sort of thing that happens in every edition. So, me personally, and I believe I speak for Kat as well here, we aren't that greatly affected by it, personally, because there is nothing we can do about it, right? And if it gets so bad that we go, nah,
I can do something about it.
We've got to pull the pin, we can't keep going with this edition, it's not working for us, we're going to have to do what everyone else has done, like all the fantasy players have done since fantasy got killed, right? Either you adapt to the new system, or you keep the old one alive in your own way. And that has its own set of flaws, obviously. Like, every book that Forge World releases from now on will be written for a new edition, and it won't sync up with the old one, and we'll have to reverse engineer rules. And it sucks, but, that may be the way we have to go with it. We may have to reverse engineer 8th edition Sanguinius and somehow try and figure out how to make him work in 7th edition 40k, as an example. But we don't know. It's early days. We can't go thinking that the sky is falling yet, because frankly we don't know what they're doing, probably because they don't know what they're doing, because they're fucking useless at Games Workshop when it comes to rules.
They have gotten
and you're kidding
gaming.
yourself if you think that Games Workshop are good with rules. They have not been good with rules since probably 2nd edition.
I believe Frontline Gaming and Games Workshop are going to work closely together with this edition, at least. If the very least, they're going to get Frontline Gaming's some of the top staff there to get their feedback, and Games Workshop has had the initiative the last couple of years to go out and ask people's opinion, because they've sat down in meetings with them.
I'm very worried about the fact that players in the UK and players in America, especially the competitive side of things, are the ones who are having all the say. Because my experience, especially within the Heresy community, is a very non-whack community overall. I can't speak for everyone, but for most people I've dealt with, right, we all seem to have a similar mindset, similar play style, probably because Heresy attracts the more mature gamers. And that's not an insult. That's because Heresy's perceived, at least outside of Australia, as being a more expensive sort of thing to get into. So a lot of people getting into it are more casual in nature. They don't care for the way that 40k's gone, and they're doing it just for the love of the Heresy. And so you're naturally going to breed a different mentality, a different mindset among those people. And we're not the ones getting our say. Like, if you came to any tournament that I've been to in Australia and you poll people if they wanted movement values, no one would care for it, right? Nobody gives a shit. Because the problems with 40k don't need a sledgehammer taken to them. You need to fix the psychic phase, you need to fix formations, you need to fix detachments and how they work, you need to sort of even out the balance of power across your codexes. And you need to fuck off all the randomness, like the way that the Maelstrom of War missions work. That sort of thing has to be fucked off, right? And it is what it is. But rather than going that approach, the rumours so far suggest that they're trying to rewrite the rules from the ground up, much more like Age of Sigmar's style. And to me, that's a novelty. You know, it doesn't interest me. I'm not gonna go out and buy a new edition because they say to me, "Oh, it's more like second edition." I'll be like, cool, if I want to play second edition, I'll go play fucking second edition. You know? Yeah.
Just on our site, well, on the YouTube channel, some people have said, I look forward to, with that freaking Age of Sigmar overtake I did for their basement tape thing, someone said, I look forward to a 1 page of rules, so a faster game. I think we were talking about this couple of weeks ago, and you said, yeah, well, this is a new system, roll a fucking dice, just whoever rolls the highest wins. There you go. There's your game system.
There's our new outer circle
easy
gaming system.
Roll a dice, whoever rolls higher wins. Roll a dice each, obviously. If one person is rolling the dice, and they're always going to roll higher than the person not rolling the dice.
Well, no, you can have if you want to play the light version of the game, the skirmish version of it, one person rolls all the dice, right? And they just get like the even numbers, and the other guy just gets the odd numbers. You see, that's the skirmish version of our 1d6 system.
No, there you go. See, so if you want a fast system, quick game's a good game, just roll a dice. Or if you don't have a dice, flip a coin, and whoever picks correctly wins. There you go. There's an easy rule set, 1 page of rules for you. But I remain confident that the rule set will be new and fresh, and if we believe all the freaking fanboys and their lies, this is going to be the best game in the fucking universe. It's going to revitalize.
With absolutely no evidence at all, they're making the claim that it's going to be a good system, come on, guys,
hasn't
be
even
cynical. Think of it like an EA game, right? Every time EA makes a game, nobody goes, "Thank fuck EA is making that game," right? Everyone's like, "Oh no, how are they going to fuck this one?" You know?
Well, I don't know. I've seen some of the pages and stuff. I don't put any real stock into it because it's a black. I could have made that.
Don't let it upset you. Don't let it upset you. What's happening with 40k, right? That's the big key here. Because there's nothing you can do about it. Don't get upset about things you can't change.
Well, you can. There are things. Change the changeables. So obviously, we're hearing June. I think. Obviously, keep an ear to the ground to find out when the hell it's dropping. So if you're going to make any huge purchases for an army, probably step back, save that money up a little bit or whatever, work on something else. I think I'm going to do a Dark Angels army because I've already got the shit. I'm going to buy a little bit more stuff, and that'll be me done until I might buy 3 knights, though, because
there's other knights.
Yeah. So I might buy some new knights just for the painting. Because I haven't painted knights, so I'll do that, but that will probably be it until the new edition comes, and then I'll have a look at that. Not buying any of the black books because honestly they seem to just... The rules themselves are wrong. I like the books. The fluff are the main reasons why I'd buy the black Horus Heresy books.
That's why I bought them and not the red ones.
They're really nice to read, except if you read them in bed, you've got to put them on the bed. Because if you hold it up on your face and you drop it on the face, it hurts.
Oh, doesn't it? Yeah.
Tip.
First world problems, right?
Arms get fucking... You can do a pretty good arm workout though when you're reading the fucking book.
Sometimes those corners can dig into your chest as well, depending how you're holding it. Like if you're laying on your side,
or if you're sitting down and you have it on your lap, right?
Yeah.
It's in your leg.
Pretty much the only way to read those books safely is on a desk.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I don't know if you're in the leather books, and they look really cool on a shelf. So there is that, and so people are pretty pissed off that their books might become absence, but I think the main thing about that is being the fluff in them anyway, and the story about the Horus Heresy, the battle plans and everything.
That's just like the old Imperial Armor books. You can, even if they get superseded, they're still an enjoyable book.
They've got great art.
It's not like a 40k codex. A 40k codex gets superseded like the fucking seasons, right? and the same fucking fluff gets reprinted in the next edition codex, right? Unless you're Necrons and Matt Ward's involved, you're going to get the same fluff each time, right? The fluff between like 5th edition and 6th edition Space Marines ain't no fucking different to the, the fluff for fucking 7th edition Space Marines or 3rd edition Space Marines. It's practically all the same fluff each time, right? They briefly talk about the Horus Heresy and how the Primarchs fell and how Gilliman broke up the Space Marines into chapters, and then ta-da, chapters. And that fluff is in every fucking Space Marine codex. With the Horus Heresy Black Books, each Black Book targets a specific set of fucking criteria, which is not touched again. It may be, like, mentioned offhandedly in other books, but it's not touched on again as a whole. Because generally they focus on key events and a campaign, as opposed to just picking out one faction and talking about how awesome that faction is. So like, for example, in the Ultramarines, Book 5, it was the Ultramarines versus the Word Bearers. The Word Bearers had already been talked about in their book, and so in this book it focused more on the Ultramarines and the actual battle at Calth, right? So, first hour of the battle, here's what happened. Second hour of the battle, here's what happened, right? And that's the way that book is written. And it's enjoyable for it. I can go back to it and reread it. Same as like Book 1 of the Horus Heresy. Betrayal talks about Isvan III and Horus becoming traitor and the virus bombing and what it was like at the end of the Great Crusade before Horus fell. And even though 6th edition has come along, that story is unchanged, and I can go back and I can still enjoy that story even if the stats and the army list in that book has changed. So, glass half full, guys. I want to move on to the next question anyway, and that was from Whackfaggot Tim. What's the most intense hobby rage quit you guys have ever seen, other than Cat smashing his arm with his bare hands? Well, first point of all, I don't think that was a rage quit as such from Cat. I think that was just frustration.
Yep.
Second of all, tough call. Me, and probably you as well, Cat, leaving 40k was a bit of a rage quit for us. After we saw
actually that would have to be me, because I remember we were in Townsville and got the first Horus Heresy book, had that other book, freaking
limited edition Chaos Space Marines with 140
Marcus
pages
playing
of fluff.
Marcus playing against fucking
Jeremy
and then Necrons just being utterly fucking broken as fuck. That was me done. That would be me. I've never seen any.
Well, because
I've never seen anything.
Remember what happened? That was like a 4th edition Tau Codex versus a 6th edition Chaos Codex with all the bells and whistles. And Jeremy's like, oh yeah, I'll take 3 rhinos with 10 berserkers in each rhino, but one of the rhinos will have Khan instead of a 10th berserker. And he had some autocannon Havocs and a Predator and a Dreadnought, I think, right? So the Tau, just first thing they do, like first turn, is railgun Khan's Rhino, blew it into the fucking sky. Just the broadside just absolutely smashed the fucking thing, right? Because it had hull points now. So as soon as you hit 3 hull points, it was always going to die. So Khan's squad hops out. Next thing that happens is the Tau gun line just shoots at the Khorne Berserkers and kills them with pulse rifle fire. And then the battlesuit commander and his cronies walk up, shoot fucking plasma guns into him, and then like the only guy left is Khan, and then he just fires his fusion guns off his battlesuits into Khan, and Khan obviously fails one invul, instant killed. And in the first turn, this codex, which was editions old, the Tau Codex, was like First Blood, slay the Warlord, crippled like what's a fucking Khorne Berserker squad, 200 something points for 10. Khan himself is like 170 points, plus the Rhino. There's like a good 400 points of a 1,500 point army just fucking annihilated in one turn. It was a Land Raider. It was a Land Raider. Fuck, that's even worse. Yeah, it was just annihilated in one turn of shooting by the fucking Tau. And this Tau Codex is years outdated. So, of course, the fucking natural reaction of the Chaos players watching this was, you gotta be fucking kidding that this shit is gonna happen. And then the poor Khorne Berserkers got closer to the Tau, and Overwatch kicked in. And it was just a never-ending fuck you to the assault army. and a lot of people who play Chaos, that immediately made them jaded in Townsville, watching that game, and then going on to play their own games further jaded them until most of them just stopped playing Chaos or left 40k outright. I mean, how many have gone on to Bolt Action and Flames of War since then? That was a big rage quit, but I think the classic one we think of as a rage quit would have to be that dude who torched his fantasy Elder's army.
Yeah, obviously. I don't know that guy, but yeah, it's online. I've put it in one of my videos. Definitely go check that out. There's a picture of, there's a video of a dude burning his fantasy army. It's half painted.
I'll see if I can find it on our Facebook. Oh, sorry, on our YouTube.
Yeah, so... Yeah, Tim also says, only when you have lost everything are you free to do anything. And that's a good point. I know a lot of people that, have gone to Flames or whatever else. A lot of the win-at-all-cost players seem to be attracted to War Machine. So that's that for them. I like Infinity. I really like Infinity. I like Cyberpunk. So let us know in the comments what's the worst rage quit. I've never seen anyone at a tournament or anything be like, fuck this, and just flip the fucking table. I've never seen that.
Ooh,
have you ever seen?
I have seen a table get flipped at a tournament, but that's very exceptional circumstances. I think this dude pouring fucking lighter fluid, as people see on screen, all over his fantasy Dark Elf army. Obviously, the backstory to it is Age of Sigmar. That's the backstory. This guy, had been playing for years and years, and recently, I believe, forked out and bought all new plastics for his elves with the upcoming new edition of Fantasy and all that. I think 9th edition. Went out and bought all new plastic Dark Elves, all the new plastic Dark Elf models, because he used to have all the white metal ones, the white metal executions, that kind of thing. To my knowledge, I could be wrong here. And started painting them all up. End times hit. Oh yeah, good signs. And then the whole fucking world, his whole world came crashing down. And he's like, you know what? Fuck this. He didn't want to sell them. He just felt fucking betrayed by what had happened. He'd given all this money and all this time and effort to the company. And I mean, that's what pisses off people about Age of Sigmar, right? It's not the fact that they destroyed that world, it's how they did it. It's like, people understand Games Workshop wants money, right? Believe me, people understand Games Workshop wants and loves fucking money. And, yeah, people like, yeah, Games Workshop wants money, but did you have to go about it this way? Was this the way to reinvent the franchise? And the answer to that is no, it's not, right? And despite what kind of game Age of Sigmar has become, they could have released it as a side game to Fantasy. That would have been my take on it. Put your resource into making a side game that is side by side with Fantasy. A what if scenario, a splitting of the universe, the 2 points in time, what could have happened if the end times went either way. And instead, what happened was they just crushed it all. And so these people who'd been collecting for years and years, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, it's shit. It's a shame it happened. It's a waste of a beautiful army. But that has to be the most intense rage quit I've seen.
Yeah, online. And obviously he did it for Shopfell. You got the views. And there's people telling him, saying, oh, you should have given it away to charity and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's his own property. He can do whatever the fuck he wants with it. It's not your property, so you can't tell him what he can and cannot do.
Well, he would have given an army away to charity that can't be used anymore.
It'd be the same as someone saying, your mother should fucking prostitute herself. Because everyone should have a piece. That's morally... And that's not morally correct. Well, is it?
No.
You can't tell people what to do with their property. They can do whatever the fuck they want with their property.
It's a total shame.
For you to go up to someone like, you should have done this to your fucking property. No, get the fuck away from me. It's just.
The last question, of course, while this footage from this other guy's channel plays, is the fact that Tim also asked, should there be a World Hobby United Nations who sorts out arguments, etc. for the hobby and determines what's good for everyone? Can you determine what's good for everyone? I don't think you can. I think you can determine what you think is best for you and the people around you, but not everyone. I can't even make that claim, and I'm an egotistical, narcissistic asshole.
Well, I didn't think you would say that. that you can't. I thought you would have been yes. There should be one. Given the fact that you're an egotistical asshole. But hey, that's refreshing. Yeah, I'm on the same seat. No, you can't. Everyone's an individual. Everyone's joined the hobby for a different reason. Like, you can't tell people what to do with their property. At the end of the day, what they do is their own fucking business. So yeah, death to the UN.
Yeah, I don't know. It's look. I may not agree with how Whack Faggot plays their game, but who am I to tell them how to play their game? I think the way Games Workshop advertises the game and how they write their rules needs a shake-up, but that's a company problem, not a fucking hobbyist problem to sort out, right? Like, they're fucking useless at Games Workshop. That doesn't mean that, their uselessness isn't great for some people. There's plenty of people, even in our comments section, who like to say, oh, Games Workshop did a great job with X, Y, or Z. They didn't, and it's, The one thing I just can't stand, like, as much as you can't tell people that they're right or wrong, in blacks and whites, because most things are grey, sometimes there is a black and a white solution to things, and I call it the purple elephant in the room. And what that is if someone points to a coffee table and says, I think that's a purple elephant, they're wrong. It's not a question of greys, right? It's just, they're wrong. It's a coffee table.
That's exactly right. That's taking something from someone else that isn't yours is stealing without asking, taking something from someone else, and now they no longer have it. Like, well, I don't know, taxation, for example. That's theft. It doesn't matter how you fucking jazz it up and be all like, oh, that's just the way it is. No, that's like, oh, well, you do the same thing for fucking slavery or fucking human trafficking. It's still fucking morally and ethically wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah, and so, with this hobby, there's a lot of the people who say, oh, no, I like Maelstrom of War missions, right? So I would say to that, for example, how can you like a set of missions which are unachievable or completely randomized and can greatly benefit one person based entirely on randomality? In a game that's already random enough thanks to the random dice rolls, you're adding more random. You could not add any more random. There's so much random coming out of this thing. And then you got Maelstrom of War missions, and I point this out to people and they go, oh no, Maelstroms are good because if you just house rules it, it's like, hang on a minute, if they're good, why do you need to house rule it? Oh, so you're telling me they're not good and they don't work and you have to fix it, right? So see, there is a black and a white here. And it happens every fucking time. People like to go, oh, such and such is good if you do this. And like I was saying on the Dark Eldar video, someone might say, oh, Dark Eldar are perfectly playable and they're working fantastically at the moment. But generally, they'll also add a line in there, such as if you use this formation or this ally detachment or this Forge World supplement. It's like, well, hang on, you're changing the fucking criteria. Like... So yeah, I don't know. That's how I look at it anyway. Bit off topic with that thought.
Yeah, there's always exceptions to the rule. Yeah, sure. Someone might like it. There's also people that like to be for sexual gratification. They chop off body parts. That's a legit thing. So I would not be into that at all. And it's a very rare thing that somebody is. But there's always an exception to the rule. Some people love GW man. So whatever.
Yes.
And sure, more power to them. Good on them. Just good luck trying to. Unfortunately, it's a community thing, so you have to find somebody to play if you want to play it. Where there's other aspects as well, hobby and.
There'll always be someone interested in what you're interested in, whether that's chopping off your genitals for sexual pleasure, or
getting eaten. There was a German guy. Yeah, there's forums for that.
Always someone who's into what you're into. Not that I condone it either way.
Yeah, no, yes, we do not condone this behavior. Not that we don't condone it to the point of being fucking prudes or whatever.
Yeah, as my sergeant used to say to me in the army. I don't care what you do on the weekend. I don't care how immoral it is, as long as it's not illegal and you don't get caught. So that's probably my opinion on it as well. As long as it's not completely fucking like terrible, I don't care what you do.
Yeah, if it's not,
stay away from fucking children.
If you're not hurting other people and it's consensual, and those people are, I don't know, for the fucking sake of this, we'll say 21, and you're not hurting people, then fucking more power to you. But the laws are fucking immoral as well. So be careful you don't get locked up for
Yes,
victims' crimes.
laws are a complete... Because this is what people forget. Laws are made by man. Man is fallible, right? The same man that writes a fucking Chaos Codex could be the same man who writes a law in, like, Australia at the moment with our gun control, because our gun control is run by people who have no idea about guns. The Adler lever-action shotgun is a great example, right? Where they're writing a law because it's a repeating lever-action shotgun. They're like, oh no, this is a new assault shotgun. And forgetting that, like, the Winchester 87 action fucking lever-action shotgun has been out since, like, 1887, right? It's not new technology at all. It's just a new weapon made with the same fucking action as has been used for over 100 years. But, you know, these fucking idiots think it's some kind of new assault weapon, which is itself a illogical term. You know, these people are the same people who are writing laws and things like that. And who are they to tell you how to live your life, right? So, on that philosophical note, I think we'll end this.
Yeah, so there are a lot of weird laws. So, for example, in the Gold Coast, it's illegal for women to wear a bikini whose material exceeds 6 square inches. So, take care on that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's legal to have a romance with a underage person in Australia as long as you believe you're married to them.
That's Victoria law, yeah.
Yes.
That roaming the streets of Australia while wearing flat shoes, black clothes, and black shoe polish can be a sure way to get arrested.
There's also a law that in Melbourne, in Victoria, your employer has to provide a stabling for your horse if you ride your horse to work. Apparently it's an old law that hasn't just been written off, that's carried over from like the 1800s, but...
Yeah, same with the perambulator. You can't use the pram on a footpath. You have to use it on the road. And walking on the right-hand side of the road in Australia is also illegal, even if you're walking on the footpath.
Yeah, there you go. So, weird laws and antiquated laws are out there, just like the fucking Chaos Codex. Thanks everyone for watching this episode. As always, give us your comments and feedback below, and get on our Facebook site, because the easiest way to contact us is on our Facebook site. We're terrible at answering like personal messages on YouTube. In fact, I only discovered one after like 5 months the other day, because I didn't even know how that feature worked properly. You didn't notice it either, Kat. Don't laugh.
No, well, fuck no. I deliberately went out of my way not to notice it. Yeah, definitely. Come on the Facebook page.
Messages, do whatever.
Post your work, whatever. It's all good.
And thanks all for watching. We will love you long time, and see you all next time.